Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to ReelTok episode 150. Big number, big milestone number. We got Doug Holler on the sode today. He was on before, and I think it actually was like episode like 51 or something. It was another big episode. It was the crossover with the Looks Like a Movie podcast for the M. Night Shyamalan special. So been a while, been like almost 2 years since that happened. We've had K Meeks come on since for a Final Destination episode, and I'm sure we'll get Owen here eventually as well. But yeah, so if you're listening to this right now as a ReelTok fan, then right now ReelTok is in person together for the first time ever. So very exciting. We're all traveling, Cam and Seth, that's why they're not here. They're in the midst of their travels. I'll be traveling tomorrow morning to all get together in New York City for Mr. George's wedding. So that's very exciting. But today we got some business to handle before we get there. We got an Ari Aster special. We got Eddington obviously releasing in theaters this week, being the main release of the week. And then we're also going to talk, Hereditary and Midsommar. Beau is Afraid. Just go over his filmography so far, give our ranking, give our thoughts on him as a whole as a director. Then we had a huge week for trailers. We had the Avatar Fire and Ash trailer leak. We had news about Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse being delayed. We had Emmy nominations. We got a ton of trailers, ton of movie news. We'll talk about all that as well. But before we get into it, shout out to our executive producers, Stefan Johnson, Stefan Niebrick, Cody Whitney, and Cole Beaver. Thank you all for supporting the pod and doing what you do every month for keeping us going and really helping us all meet together in person in New York City as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this thing. So we'll start with, our guest here, Doug, who is, in the wilderness right now, live reporting from the scene, touching grass, as they say. What's up, Doug? How's your week been? What have you been watching, and what are you doing in the middle of the woods?
I'm out here hanging out. I've been really into Johnny To the last 6 months. No, less time. I don't know. I've been really into Johnny To for a little while. I recently watched what's that movie called? Love for All Seasons. It's a Johnny To romantic comedy about like a kung fu master, like a woman who's a kung fu master that seeks out like a womanizer to break her heart so that she could master a certain technique of kung fu that requires you to have your heart broken. It's a lot of just like cute movie stuff. I've been really into stuff like that recently. Outside of that, just like new movies like Eddington and etc.
Superman.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that one. Yeah, Superman. George loves Superman.
Yeah, you're more of a fan of Superman than George.
Well, I don't know if that's true. The numbers don't mean ratings don't mean anything. But I do like it though. George likes it too. So do you. You're the real big fan. That's your second favorite movie of the year. Third favorite movie of the year.
Yeah, third now. Yep. Cool. Well, George, how are you doing this week? You're the one who doesn't have to travel, but you obviously have the big milestone of the wedding. So how has like the week before been? What have you been up to? What have you been watching? What's the the final countdown as we're less than, we're exactly 7 days away from the wedding right now. So how are you feeling? How are things going?
I mean, I'm fine. The week was busy just because I took all of next week and the week after off, or this week if you're listening to the pod on Monday. So last week was just really hectic getting done with work. Unfortunately, I don't have the biggest team around me in New York, so there was a lot of like prep work to go into the 2 weeks that I'm gone to make sure that nothing happens that's fire extinguisher level whilst away. But yeah, it was fine. It's been I mean we finished like planning everything like not too long ago, so this week has been fine. I know Victoria was doing like some last minute like signature drink menus, ice sculpture ordering. We went to City Hall to get our marriage license. So technically we're officially married.
Congrats.
So yeah, it was just a busy week of just work and getting everyone ready for my time off and just like some quick last minute wedding preparations. But I'm excited. We're recording this on Saturday, so you guys are coming tomorrow and I'm very excited. I got our little itinerary like ready to go. Especially for our city day itinerary. That was a lot of that was fun to put together because I was like, what are they going to enjoy doing in the city? Because especially like on a Monday, it might be a little like hectic and packed, or Tuesday. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for you guys to get here. I know Cam and Tyler, Cam and Seth are away today because they're like packing and getting everything ready. So I miss them right now, but I will literally physically see them in Cam at this point, less than 24 hours. I'm picking them up at the airport, I think at like 9 o'clock. So just over 24 hours. So I'm very excited about that. Going home after we recorded this pod. So I'm excited to like finally unwind. Like I feel like once I leave, you guys will see. When you're in the city, it's just like always hectic, and you always just feel stressed and overwhelmed. So I'm excited to like get out of the city and go to Long Island for the week. Even though we're coming back Tuesday with you guys, but I'm excited to get out of the city and just like relax a little bit. But watch wise, not a lot. Where's my diary? I didn't even open my diary. Oh my God. Let's talk My Fault London real quick. Finally, that the two of us watched that shit. Oh my God.
I haven't finished it yet. I'm like halfway through.
Oh man. Dude, one, it's not bad. It really is not that bad. Like I texted you guys, the 3 stars is probably a little embellished just because I didn't want to hurt this kid's soul. It's probably like a 2.5 that leans 3. But it really isn't that bad of a movie. And I do respect that kid's commitment. We're coming up on like 3 months now of this dude commenting, watch My Fault London on all 4 of our Letterboxd reviews every single time we drop something. So I respect this commitment. And then we did say, I said, write a 3,000 word review on Sunshine, and you said 3,000 word review on, which one did you say?
About Time.
About Time.
And we both use AI detectors. I mean,
yeah,
he passed all the AI detector tests. So he clearly just wrote 3,000 words for each of them. So he did what he needed to do. So we obliged to watch this movie.
So I locked in, I watched it. Really not that bad. It's like this very like, I don't know. It's like this very cliche riddled romance drama that like turns into a little bit of like a thriller towards the end. It's very weird. It's very weird.
It's like a movie that people who like watch like To the Boys I Loved Before, Outer Banks.
Literally.
That's like right up your alley.
Yeah,
if you like
exactly. Perfect way to describe it. It's so corny. And
there's a sequel coming. What isn't it? Your Fault London?
Your Fault London. Yeah, Your Fault London. Literally the day after I watched this movie, the news dropped that Your Fault London has wrapped filming. So that's exciting. Can't wait to catch that one in theaters.
Should these movies play in theaters?
I think they're Prime Video.
Dude, I have no idea. There's no way. Rewatch Top Gun Maverick. That shit absolutely bangs. It'll never not get old. I really cannot wait for F1 to make its way to digital. I'm sad that I didn't get a chance to see F1 twice in IMAX. Really came and went quickly with his IMAX screenings because I think they had to make that space for Superman. But that was a shame. I really wanted to watch that a second time in theaters before it left, but it didn't. But I'm excited for it to come back out so I could watch it again because after watching Top Gun Maverick, I really do just love Joe Kosinski. Man knows how to direct some vehicles, and it's pretty cool.
What's the news on Top Gun 3?
I have no idea as of late. I think the only official news we have are like little like red carpet interview snippets of like Kosinski saying like, you know, I have a story in mind. Maverick's story isn't over, but I don't think there's any like official confirmation on that yet. But I could be wrong. Hereditary rewatch. Still as fucked as it once was. It's just, I mean, we'll talk about it when we get to our like Aster portion of the pod, but yeah, that movie is just so fucked up. Complimentary in a good way. I watched the original Running Man, the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's good. I'm excited now even more for the remake because I'm excited to see like what Glenn Powell and Edgar Wright are going to do with each other. But it was so like, I don't know. They like throw Arnold Schwarzenegger into the Running Man competition and immediately give him like bright yellow spandex, and it's like decisions like that are just so fucking funny. There are so many like hilarious one-liners, which I don't even know if they're meant to be hilarious. I think it might just be Arnold Schwarzenegger's really heavy accent that makes things so much funnier than they are. But it was a good movie. It was fun. It was like I don't think it was as like thrilling or like, I guess, mature as I had anticipated, even though there are some scenes that are like really like, gory, which not even gory, but they are a little aggressive. But it definitely like falls into more of like the cornball side of like action filmmaking, which is not a bad thing. I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed my time with it. But I am excited for the remake. Got out to see Sorry Baby, which I'm sure we'll review more when like all three of you watch it eventually, but really good. Really, really good movie. Really, really sad movie, but also really fucking funny movie. I said this in my Letterboxd review. The tone management on this movie was insane. You go from one scene laughing your ass off to the very next scene, it just in dead silence in the theater because you don't want to make a breath because you want to be respectful to the absolute devastation happening on screen. And then the very next scene is like, it's like this girl in her home by herself and it's dark and she hears something on her porch and it gets like really like scary for like a quick second. And it just moves. It moves really well. Good movie. I think K Meeks saw it last night and gave like a 4.5, which didn't surprise me. I knew he was going to. The second I saw that movie, I was like, that's a K Meeks movie if I've ever seen one. But very good movie. Eddington we'll talk about on the pod. And then Avatar and Avatar The Way of Water rewatches have just happened. Avatar's fine, the first one. This is the wrong group of people to talk to about this. Avatar is fine. I don't think that movie holds up as well as it might be made out to. I don't think it looks as good as it's made out to. I really expect, and this holds true for the first Avatar, no one knows how to act in this movie, and it's really painful. Sigourney Weaver's doing all-time bad things in this movie. Sam Worthington just doesn't know how to act, so like I'm not going to hold it against him. He's just not a good actor.
You haven't seen Man on a Ledge?
No, I haven't seen Man on a Ledge. Asking me to take Giovanni Ribisi seriously is the toughest challenge in film ever.
Is that the actor who plays the Marine?
No, that's the dude that plays the bad guy in Ted.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
shit, yeah.
Giovanni Ribisi's like
the
businessman.
The businessman.
Yep,
It's just hilarious. Every time he screams in like anger, I laughed. It was really funny. Stephen Lang, the Marine guy, he's actually like probably the best part of the movie. He's the only
the goat.
Yeah.
Stephen
He's
Lang
the only
is
one that's like
goat.
committed to his role. It's tough taking Zoe Saldana seriously. She is such like she overacts in the worst way possible. I don't know how to describe it. It's a little corny. And then Avatar: The Way of Water is fine.
Chill on the Oscar winner. Jeez.
Yes. Right. I forgot that Emilia Perez Oscar. Avatar: Way of Water was good, better, obviously a beautiful film. Longest movie of my life. I felt like I was sitting in front of my TV for 7 hours. I wish that the funny thing with both of these Avatar movies, I should love these movies considering how much I just love genre films. I really should. And there's nothing emotionally resonating to come out of these movies. Couldn't name you a single character outside of Jake Sully. I don't care for any of like the familial drama or the familial chaos. The bullying, Tyler, I texted you about this. The bullying stuff in Avatar: The Way of Water, like the high school, the first time that the kids of each family meet, that's the funniest shit in the world. That stuff makes me crack up. It's so funny. It's so funny. It's so corny, and it's like corny in like a reasonable way, I guess, because like that is how high schoolers and middle schoolers interact with one another. But like it's so funny seeing that from like a from some people who don't live on Earth. You know, they talk very much like American high schoolers, not like Pandora people who have a tree of souls right in their backyard. But yeah, they're fine. I'm happy I rewatched them. I know you guys were chatting a little bit about the Fire and Ash leaked trailer. I didn't watch it, but it got me. It reminded me that I'll eventually have to do my Avatar rewatch before Fire and Ash. And yesterday and the day before, I had really nothing else to watch. I was going to throw on Midsommar, honestly, but I just wasn't in the mood for like some really painful darkness. So I threw on the Avatar movies. But yeah, that's what I've been watching. No TV this week, right? No, Love Island ended
Love
last
Island's
week.
wrapped, so your TV watching days are done.
Dude, it's crazy. Love Island wrapped on Sunday, and I swear, like Monday and Tuesday, Victoria and I were sitting home like, damn, what do we watch now? Like, it was like for 3 months, that's what we were watching on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. But yeah,
that's so much.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's really
the schedule is ridiculous. I don't understand how people are keeping up with it.
It's crazy how I love how they just film it all and then edit it, and then less than 24 hours later, it's available for the public to watch all day. Meanwhile, Beyond the Spider-Verse has taken 17 years. Like, some people don't want to work
like Beyond the Spider-Verse, they do animate every frame of Love Island.
No, but it is a commitment. It is a crazy commitment. Like when we were in Denmark, we missed like 4 episodes, and it's like it's not like a movie where it's like, oh, okay, I have time to binge this franchise before the next movie comes out. It's like, oh shit, I'm 4 episodes behind. If I don't binge this today, I'll be 5 episodes behind tomorrow, 6 episodes behind the next day. So it's like you're always playing catch up if you miss like more than 2 days. But yeah, it's a very interesting show. Like I've been saying, it's a very interesting show. It's so bad, but it's so like consuming. And like I'm genuinely very excited for like their little reunion they're doing, which I think is in New York. But yeah, it's a very interesting show. But yeah, that's it. That's what I've been watching.
You were on Wall Street. You got interviewed.
Yeah, that was cool. I was on FinTech TV, which was cool. I was just right in the middle of the stock exchange floor, doing an interview, which is crazy. Like if you watch that interview and if you like pay attention to the background, it's so like people just like you're literally in the middle of the stock exchange floor. So like people are walking back and forth behind you. So it's like very difficult not to get like a little distracted with what's going on. Like if I'm being interviewed and I'm facing this way, CNBC is right behind me. Literally their massive booth in the middle of the floor. And then I was also on the floor the day that what's it called? Grab a Gun started their public offering. That Donald Trump Jr.'s website.
Oh.
I don't even know what they do. It's like a discount firearm website, but they were IPOing the day I was there. So the floor was like extra loud, really obnoxious. They were outside taking pictures, screaming and like cheering. So it was it was extra loud. Like I don't think you could see it in the interview that I posted, but like their booth was like kind of like right to my left side behind me. So like you could see grab a gun. Their ticker is PEW. Pew, 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 which is just the dumbest shit I've ever learned. But yeah, the interview itself was cool. Obviously I want to, get that fundraiser, like just as much awareness as possible. I think we've just hit like the 4,000 raised mark, which is awesome. I appreciate everyone that's been sharing this to their stories and donating. It's awesome. But yeah, nerve wracking doing an interview in the middle of the stock exchange floor. It wasn't live, thankfully. I recorded that. When was I there? Wednesday, and it dropped on Friday. So it wasn't live, which made it much easier. But yeah, that was a cool experience. Second time I've ever been on the exchange floor. So cool experience. But yeah, that was what else did I do this week? You just reminded me of that. Now I feel like I might be missing something, but I don't think so. Eddington in theaters, Sorry Baby in theaters, and that's about it. that was my week.
Nice. Yeah, my week's been super packed. After the pod last week, traveled to San Diego, I flew into LAX really quick and easy from Phoenix. It's like once you get in the air, it's like 45 minutes. So super quick little hop, which made me like, when I realized how quick the flight was, like literally like 45 minutes, and like it was through work, so I didn't pay for the ticket. But if I did out of pocket, it was like $100 tops. I was like, damn, this whole time I should have just had my bio say LA, so like I could potentially get some emails for like stuff going on in LA, and then I could just get a flight there or something if it was enticing enough. So like it's easy as hell for me to get to LA.
Yeah.
So I
should. What's that drive? That drive's like 5 hours.
Drives like 5 hours. I prefer not to drive. Like
I was gonna say,
actually, drive to San Diego is like 5 hours. To LA, it's like 6.5. But still, like the flight's like
but like Phoenix to LA, that's literally you're just on Route 10 for 5 hours. Like that's it. Just one straight.
Yeah, it's very manageable. So all along, I should have just
still
had LA in my bio or whatever. But
I was gonna say you really should.
Yeah, but oh well, you live and learn. But I went to San Diego. So I flew into LA on Monday. I was there for work. Drove down. Took me like an hour 45 to get from LA to San Diego. But then when I was going back, 2 days later, it was like 3 hours to get from San Diego to LA. Just because, like, if you hit LA traffic at the wrong time, you're just screwed. But yeah, San Diego is beautiful. It's the first time I've ever been there. I really loved it. It was kind of cloudy, overcast, windy, kind of cold. Like, because I was Monday, I got there way early because I was there for work on Tuesday, Wednesday. So I was like, I'm gonna get there super early Monday so I can just like have like a beach day, do stuff in San Diego that I don't get to experience in the desert in Phoenix. But the beach was dead. It was like 62 degrees, which meant like the water was like freezing. Like I stepped in and I was like, I got to step in the ocean for a bit just because like I'm here. And I was like, yeah, this is awesome, man. Like it was just so cold. So, which it's better than 120 degrees in Phoenix, but it wasn't great beach weather whatsoever. And then Tuesday and Wednesday worked. Wednesday we finished early. My flight wasn't until like 9:30 out of LAX, and I flew to LAX just because I always fly with Delta. Like I always want to get my miles because like once you travel a lot, it's like you kind of wanted to stick in a lane of like one airline, one hotel chain, one rental car service, just so you can like accrue points and status. And I was like, what, LA, it's like a 2-hour drive, so I'll do it because I can sightsee, especially because we usually finish early on the second day. So drove up from San Diego to LA. Took like 3 hours that time because there was this car accident in like Anaheim, which like backed up the entire highway. It took forever. I had to piss the entire time. I was not happy. I was like, we're about to burst at the seams here. But then like I passed the car crash. I was like, dude, there's like no shot that person survived. It was like a car that was just completely obliterated. I was like, oh shit, okay, at least it was like a valid highway closure. But yeah, that was mayhem in LA traffic. Got to experience that firsthand. Went to the Academy Museum. So I had like 4 hours to spare in LA before I had to kind of go to the airport and get my flight. So I went to the Academy Museum. Super cool. I think it's like a Mecca destination everyone has to visit at least once if you're into film. It's still new. It opened only just a couple of years ago. But the exhibits there's a Bong Joon-ho exhibit. It has storyboards for every single one of his films, except Mickey 17. The Mickey 17 stuff was a little weak there just because I guess it was so recent. But storyboards for all of his films. Just a cool exhibit with props from every single one of his films as well. Like an awesome just Bong Joon-ho exhibit there. There's like a Barbie exhibit for like all the production design and costume design in the film, just general film history stuff as well. Not like specific exhibits, but just, costumes from like, The Shape of Water, Donnie Darko, a lot of the Marvel stuff. So just cool exhibits all around.
I was surprised by the Marvel stuff. That was at the Academy Museum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do they have Marvel stuff?
I don't know. I mean, it's
like Black
film
Panther
history, but yeah, I guess
sense.
I mean, Black Panther would make sense, yeah, but I don't think like because like they had like Thor's hammer there, they had the Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet. I don't think either of those would have been like nominated for anything. I don't know. Did they get like a gimme like visual effects nomination or something?
I don't know. I truly think the only thing Endgame was nominated for was like best cheer moment.
Yeah, I think you're right. So they should have had Army of the Dead, like Zack Snyder stuff there then, because that won like best fan favorite film of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Academy Museum was sick. I really enjoyed my time there. I think everyone should go. It's a little pricey. Like it's $25 for the museum, which isn't terrible, but then like parking there is like another $25. So it's like $50 all in all. And it's not the biggest museum in the world. Like every part of the exhibit's super nice because it's super new. But like I got there and went to, it's like 4 floors of a museum, but not the biggest floors. So I got there and the first floor was like the Bong Joon-ho exhibit. And I spent a lot of time on that first floor. I was like, oh shit. Like they said like 2 hours you should prepare to spend here. I was like, I could spend way more. I mean, I kind of have to rush through to get through everything. But then as I went to the other floors, I was like, okay, these are like a lot more empty than I thought. So it's definitely not like the greatest museum of all time in the sense that like I'm going to recommend it to every movie fan. But I think if you're not a movie fan, I feel like people can be kind of disappointed because it again, it's just not the biggest museum of all time. But like what's in there is super cool. And I really enjoyed my time there and it's presented really awesomely. Whereas some other museums you can kind of go through and it's just like really cool stuff and cool artifacts, but it's kind of just like thrown in a glass case with like a normal overhead lit room. And you're like, yeah, this isn't that special. Whereas like everything in the Academy Museum is super special. But that night there was a screening of The Insider in 35 millimeter. Wasn't able to go. There was interviews before or people introducing the film as well, but I had to get to my flight at that point. So that would have been fun to see because I love The Insider, probably maybe my favorite Michael Mann film personally. But then after the Academy Museum, went to get dinner at El Coyote from, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Sharon Tate lore, just a classic, iconic Hollywood venue. It's like very fine Mexican food. Like I was never expecting to go there and be blown away. Like I was just kind of going there for the history of it all and the vibe and the ambiance and the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood of it all. But it's kind of like, I knew it was just like a pretty standard Mexican food joint. It's like, if someone gets murdered at like a Chipotle, you can go to that Chipotle and it's, like, I don't know. It's just the same food. Like it's not their fault that it became iconic from crazy stuff happening there. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Had a good time. And then went to LAX, flew home, and then been kind of just prepping. Like yesterday, I filmed 17 TikToks. So we got those all locked and loaded while I'm traveling. Yeah, man, I can't take days off. I'm ready for traveling to New York. I learned how to schedule TikToks and Instagram stuff too. So normally what I do is just keep my drafts and I just like find a random time of the day and post them. But this last like week and a half with scheduled posts has been so nice. Because when I was in San Diego, it's like every day is 6 a.m. Because I've been posting 2 movie TikToks a day. So it's like 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. just every day on the dot. Just a TikTok uploads, Instagram Reel uploads, YouTube Short uploads, all done, taken care of. So that'll be the same thing in New York, which will be nice. But yeah, and then, been prepping for, the travel, prepping for moving to Austin. So there's like a lot of stuff going on right now. But yeah, and then traveling tomorrow morning. So in about exactly 24 hours from now, I'll be boarding my flight because my flight takes off at 6 a.m. tomorrow. So I'll be getting up at like 3:30. But yeah, I'm excited for some New York action. It's gonna be fun to see everyone and be in the Airbnb hanging out. We got a very fun itinerary. So the pod next week will be all kinds of chatter about our experiences in New York City, in person, how we're doing. We got a plan for recording. So hopefully it all goes well. But that's what I've been doing. What I've been watching, watched The Boss Baby on what is the 12th? That's last Saturday, I guess.
Dude, you've had an absurd week of watches.
Yeah, I mean, so The Boss Baby, Riley and I watched like the first 40 minutes of like, I don't know, 3 months ago, and it's just like always been gnawing at me that there's like 30 minutes left of this movie that I didn't finish. I'm like, I just need to finally just like throw on the final 30 minutes. Complete it.
Yeah,
I actually don't.
You're like a Alec Baldwin completionist. Like you can't let it sit there. You gotta.
Yeah, I don't want to be the next one in his crosshairs for not finishing The Boss Baby.
Oh, come on.
I thought it was a fine movie. I don't dislike it. But then watch the terrible franchise that is the I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I thought would be like better. I don't know. It's obviously not nearly as revered as the Scream movies, but these movies suck, man. Like I Know What You Did Last Summer, the original is like fine. Like you can have a fine time with it. But I Still Know What You Did Last Summer is bad. And I'll always Know What You Did Last Summer is truly awful. So like the new one that's in theaters now, I didn't get around to seeing. I was watching these to prep for seeing it, which I still will be seeing, but just didn't get to see before this. But I don't know if canon's the right word, but the one in theaters now is supposed to be like the third of the I Know What You Did Last Summer, then I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and then this one is a third movie picking up after I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, whereas I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer from 2006 is a separate gang, separate group, not connected to the Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., that storyline. So again, like I don't know if canon's the right word, because it might still be like the same universe and stuff, but in terms of what this new movie is, it's supposed to be like the third of those movies. So that makes me feel a little better because I think the third one is clearly the worst. But yeah, just the thing is with the Scream movies, like the fun of the whodunit of it all is like you know who the killer is going to be someone you kind of sat with for a chunk of the movie that like you've seen dialogue, they're a part of the friend group, it's like relationships, like, you know, stuff's going on, you're kind of guessing like, okay, which one of these has like a murky background, whereas these movies are just like you have the whole friend group aspect of like the whodunit mystery of it all, but like the killer, when you get revealed, it's like, oh, this is just like that's why these things just haven't stuck with the iconic level of Scream, because it's like just like some fisherman dude with some background lore. Spoilers for a 1997 movie, but they're kind of ass, so I wouldn't recommend.
Dude, it bothers me so much that the 2025 one is also called I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like they couldn't throw in another word in there, because it's I know what you did last summer. I still know what you did last summer. I'll always know what you did last summer. This one should have been like, I definitely know what you did last summer.
I also know what you did last summer.
Yeah.
I'm starting to wonder if I actually know what you did last summer.
Yeah.
Start throwing some doubt into the mix. But then Eddington in theaters, watched Beau is Afraid right after it, rewatched it. And then Jurassic Shark was what I watched, the last movie last night, to get ready for our Patreon review this week. So that'll be fun to talk about. I think we might break the record for like quickest real Patreon episode of all time. I don't really know how to discuss that film for more than 15 seconds, but yeah. And I'm also halfway through My Fault London. So the guy who has been recommending it on every one of our ReelTok or all of our Patreon or Letterboxd reviews for the past like 3 months, your time's finally shining. So we're going to be reviewing that, or well, I don't think formally we'll be reviewing it, but I'll be posting my review. By the time this is up, it'll be up.
Did our patrons decide what we're watching together yet?
No, the final poll is going out today, so we'll figure that out like tomorrow when the results come in of what we're going to be watching together in New York and reviewing for the Patreon review next week. So hopefully they cooked up something good. But
are they keeping in mind that the girls are going to be watching with us? Because I feel like that might change the outcome.
I don't know, and who knows? I haven't looked at what the polls are at right now, but I think a lot of the recommendations are really good, and I think there's a lot of people recommending like wedding vibe movies, like Wedding Crashers, The Hangover, stuff that like involves wedding in it, you know. So it's like I think we'll get a fun watch for us all to hang out together that everyone should enjoy. Good. But yeah, that'll do it for kind of the intro. Now we're gonna get into the Ari Aster episode. So I was kind of wondering, like, and I always wonder when we do like director reflectives like this, if we want to jump right into the new release or we want to kind of build up to it. We're not going to talk a lot about the other movies other than Eddington. It's kind of just like a quick thoughts and takes. So I think we're just going to lead up to Eddington that way. So he's had 3 films and then 1 notorious short film. Strange Thing About the Johnsons came out before any of this feature film. So I'll start with Doug. Have you seen that short film, and what are your thoughts on it?
No, I haven't seen Strange Things About the Johnsons. I would probably like it, but I don't, you know, I haven't seen it. I know its reputation, I think, is a little ridiculous. I think people are a little ridiculous when uncomfortable stuff happens in movies, though.
Yeah, I mean, he has a ton of short films on Letterboxd you can see, but that's clearly the one like people know and recognize and recommend the most. It's also the longest one of his. It's 30 minutes long. George, I don't believe you have seen it either, so I'm the only one who's seen it. So yeah, its reputation, like kind of Doug alluded to, definitely is something that precedes itself. It's a dark domestic drama about the familial ties that bind and the ties that really bind. Definitely a disturbing film, but I watched it a year ago when Beau's Afraid came out, and I was like, I don't know, a little taken aback about how like people kind of talk about this as like the most disturbing, twisted, like whoever makes a movie like this should be like shot and killed in the streets type of reaction to it. It's definitely not there. I just know I've accepted that I really like Ari Aster at this point. And all the themes you see, especially relating to the family dynamics and elements that are present in every single one of his films, especially with like the mother-father or mother-son relationship, like very much apparent here as well. So I think if, like Doug said, I know he likes Ari Aster movies. It's like if you like his other films, like you're probably gonna like this as well. And I agree again with Doug that the reputation of this film is a little ridiculous because, all three of us on this call for sure have seen so many films that are so much more disturbing, out of left field, sadistic, weird than this film is. But for some reason, like, people act like this film is like the Antichrist of short films. But then his first feature film is Hereditary, 2018, one of the most successful. I think one of the most is the proper way to say it now. I think at one point it was the most successful film distributed by A24, which kind of is why Ari Aster has this blank check ability with their company at this point, where, even Beau is Afraid was an expensive film that didn't return that investment, but he's still going to kind of always, it's like Alex Garland and Ari Aster. It's like they can kind of never do any wrong for A24 for how much they did for them in the climb up. So Hereditary, following the death of the Lee family matriarch, Annie and her children uncover disturbing secrets about their heritage. Their daily lives are not only impacted, but they also become entangled in a chilling fate from which they cannot escape, driving them to the brink of madness. Doug, what are your thoughts on Ari Aster's Hereditary?
Well, I wanted to say, you say, like, you're talking about financial success for, like, how much Hereditary individually made, but Hereditary is one of the most, like, obviously influential films of the 2010s and kind of created a whole genre of horror films that A24 has been capitalizing on. So like the financial success of Hereditary kind of extends to the success of movies like Talk to Me, which were super successful and stuff like that. Like all like or the Babadook, that's not A24, I think, but like the Babadook, and the Babadook's before Hereditary. But like other more serious, like very slick horror movies like this would not exist without Hereditary. So its reputation really does precede itself, and I think it's interesting because Hereditary is better than every single one of these movies, and I don't think it's close. I don't want to gang up on Raka Raka too much, but I don't think that they're the most talented artists in the world, or the most interesting artists in the world, because part of why Hereditary is so great is because Ari Aster just had like a really singular idea, and he really capitalized it, not capitalized on it, he really captured it, right? And then he moved on, and he didn't make 3 more Hereditary movies. Whereas Raka Raka, I think, are gonna make 5 movies that are just like a worse Hereditary. And so I think that Ari Aster making Hereditary is so interesting because then he moved on, which he didn't have to. He could have farmed fucking $1 billion if he made 10 Hereditary movies, and it would have been, he could have done that in his sleep. But no, this movie's fucking awesome. I will say, I think Toni Collette, we gotta chill out on Toni Collette's performance. It's good, but it's like it's kind of like it's not.
I'm even more
one.
on that side of history. After rewatching it, I'm even more on Toni Collette's side. It is egregious that she wasn't nominated for an Oscar that year. It is absolutely unbelievable that she did not land herself in that mix.
Yeah, I mean, Hereditary, like, to Doug's point about Ari Aster and his career, like, love or hate Ari Aster, I think it's pretty apparent. Like Hereditary, Midsommar, Beau is Afraid, Eddington, a lot of through line with the themes and narratives, but very different approaches and very different films. So it's like he clearly is reinventing himself each time and doing something a lot different in the packaging and delivery. But Hereditary, I still consider like one of the scariest films I've ever seen. I think it's just one that stayed with me way longer than I expected. It's one that when I'm watching it, I wasn't like, yeah, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen. I was still scared, but it was more that just like days after. It was like every night going to bed, I always kept seeing like, my ceiling fan. I was like, I think that, like, I just kept picturing like Toni Collette like crawling on my ceiling, and that was it took like a week to get over that. And then I think the film does super great at. There's so many like dark rooms that are filmed that like you have to stare in the corner for a long time and you think you see something, and sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, but you're always trying to make do with what the dark spaces are and trying to see what's there and your mind just starts going crazy trying to picture what is going there, and you start to think you're seeing things that maybe you aren't. But it's the first Ari Aster film I've seen. I said that a little unconfidently, but yeah, it definitely is. I watched Midsommar after it. And I've still only seen it once. It still scared the shit out of me. I still loved it immediately on first watch. I do think Toni Collette is really great in this. I have only seen it once. You get Alex Wolff,
Also great.
Yeah, and then the dad I think is really great as well. Is that Gabriel Byrne?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think fantastic family dynamic, and then Millie Shapiro, in it for a chunk. But George, what are your thoughts on Hereditary? Is it still one of your favorite horrors after rewatching it?
Yeah, it held up. I was a little. It's one of those movies I never felt compelled to rewatch just because it, like, I don't know, man. It's so dark and it's so brutal and it's so fucked up. And it was like there was just never a point where I was like, oh, let me just throw on Hereditary. But yeah, leading up to this episode, I knew that like if I was going to prioritize one of Aster's films to rewatch, it was going to be Hereditary. But yeah, it is fucked. I do love psychological horror, and that really has grown to be like one of probably my absolute favorite subgenre of horror. Obviously, science fiction horror has like a lot of bias in my mind, but psychological horror, it can just be completely thanked. Can absolutely just thank Hereditary for that, because this movie is so good. It is so uncomfortable. It is this really just unfortunate look at grief and legacy and trauma. One of the first things I asked when I left Hereditary, and I didn't ask this in like a bad way. I was genuinely just curious. I was like, how does a filmmaker go from making Hereditary to making Eddington? Like, how do you make that jump from one of the most demonic psychological horror movies out there to this political satire of COVID era America? Like, that's such an insane reinvention. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just genuinely like that's such an insane journey to take as a filmmaker. Like Doug said, he had this idea for Hereditary, he made it, and he just moved the fuck on. And even if Ari Aster is like falling on my list of respected filmmakers, that's still something that's just insanely admirable. Toni Collette's still there. I'll say it again. Insane she wasn't nominated for an Oscar. She's so fucking good in this movie. She's so fucking committed to this role. She's committed to the physical horror that is required of this role. And then she obviously has like the, now very famous like TikTok clips of like the dinner table of her being like, don't you curse at your mother, all of those like now very like overly played clips. But yeah, I love this movie. I really do. And I'm happy I rewatched it because it just kind of like confirmed my love for it. It had been such a long time since I had rewatched this movie. Like I think pre-podcast days. But yeah, great movie. Really, really emotional. Really struck me emotionally, especially at the end of the movie. I could spoil Hereditary. It's been out for a while. Like you have Alex Wolff like kind of hiding in his backyard, and he sees his mom with no head floating up to the treehouse. And then you have this like really harrowing score going on in the background, but it's so quiet and so faint. And it's just so beautiful. But yeah, really, really good movie. Really fucking good movie. I expected it to hold up on rewatch. I didn't go in thinking, oh, I don't think I'm going to like this as much. Considering it's a movie I haven't seen since like maybe 2018 or 19 or whatever year it came out. I think about it once a week. Like anytime horror crosses my mind, Hereditary is right there in my mind. But yeah, great movie. Happy I rewatched it.
The image of Toni Collette, the upside down image of her like crawling on the attic, like banging her head repeatedly, is an insane image. That's
so
not
cool.
even the worst. The worst is her just
ripping. That's the entire final 20 minutes is just like the most insane image after insane image that just sears in your brain after being slow build is not the right word, because there's definitely like major events that happen building up to it, but in terms, it definitely like boils to a point that when it boils over, it goes a million miles per hour and does not let go until that final image George was talking about. But insane movie, and like Doug said, like financially this was successful for A24, but I think the bigger thing was that it's permeated the conversation of horror. It's 7 years since its release, and it's still very much a film that is talked about all the time. I'm sure the streaming numbers every year and every month are consistent and still strong. It's influenced a lot of genre horror films, both within the A24 family as well as outside of it. So even though it was, financially successful, its success in the culture is so much more beyond that.
It created the idea of elevated horror, It's like that's like a fucking annoying thing that people say all the time, but like it's like that people never said that before Hereditary came out,
And I didn't quite realize that it was just 1 year later that Midsommar comes out. Another horror film, much different in its execution in the sense that, well, at least the non-director's cut is fully in the light, fully during the day. The director's cut, I believe, has some night scenes. I've not seen it yet. The next time I watch Midsommar, I need to watch the director's cut, but I've seen it twice, the original cut. But an odd one where I know people that, I respect that like either don't like Midsommar or they just think it's like fine, but then they watch the director's cut and they like love it. So it's like clearly it's I believe 27 minutes of added content. So I believe, I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I want to see it for sure. But, Midsommar, you have several friends led by Florence Pugh traveling to Sweden to study as anthropologists at a summer festival that is held every year, 90 years in the remote hometown of one of them. What begins as a dream vacation in a place where the sun never sets gradually turns into a dark nightmare as the mysterious inhabitants invite them to participate in their disturbing festive activities. So you got Florence Pugh, Jack Rayner, William Jackson Harper, Will Poulter. Very different horror in terms of the experience I have with it than Hereditary. Still equally terrifying, still equally something that builds to an insane ending. Has its moments just like Hereditary that are incredibly gruesome and incredibly visceral. But yeah, we'll start with Doug again. Midsommar, where do you land on Midsommar?
I like Midsommar. I think that from a auteur kind of theory perspective, Midsommar is really interesting in the timeline of Ari Aster's career, because unlike Hereditary, we really kind of see Ari Aster, the annoying fucking little nerd, come out in this movie. I think that's kind of cool to see. Obviously, we get that. We see the apex of that is in Beau's Afraid, but like I think that we really see like Ari Aster, the annoying guy, that has like a lot of annoying things to say. In this movie, I'm not a hater. There's a lot of haters. I mean, he just has a lot of haters, but like, there's a lot of people that really fucking hate this movie. I don't like it as much as Hereditary, but like the subject matter of Hereditary, like the idea that demons and ghosts and shit are real, I just think that's just sick. That's just a fucking sick idea for horror movies. I'm not as interested in cults as Ari Aster is. Ari Aster's obviously like that's like his most like he loves cults, and this movie is like the whole thing is about a cult. I do think the idea like the relationship part of this movie I resonate a lot with as somebody who's been a bad boyfriend before. I kind of watch this movie and I'm like, yeah, I understand what it's like to be this bad boyfriend. And I think that Florence Pugh is really good in it. I don't know. It's cool. It's interesting. I think that it's interesting how this movie is so popular, like mainstream, like normal, like so many normal people have seen this movie. And it's like a lot of my friends who I was friends with in high school, like it's a lot of like some of their favorite movies and stuff, which is interesting for, I don't know. He's such an interesting pop filmmaker.
It is odd because film is not that palatable. So the fact that it is so popular with a lot of people is always surprising to me especially when I rewatched it. I was like, why is this such a, everyone goes to it and says they love this movie? Because I mean, I like the movie, don't get me wrong, but quite different than Hereditary. I feel like Hereditary is, they're both clearly horror films, but I feel like Hereditary would be easier to recommend to someone who's like a fan of horror, but maybe not like super into watching all the new films that are coming out every year. But Hereditary scares me more. Midsommar disturbs me more. I don't know. Hereditary probably still disturbs me more. But Midsommar is more like a disturbing film than a scary film. But Hereditary is like a super dark film where most of it's happening like at night in this house where, like I said, you're like looking in the corners of dark rooms and you don't know what's there. Whereas Midsommar is a very bright movie, very colorful movie, gorgeous to look at visually. And we mentioned like the end of Hereditary is some just insane images that sear in your brain. I think the end of this one has some insane images sear in your brain too, especially with the. Well, when we're gonna have Eddington, we'll have a clear spoiler section, but for these movies, we're kind of gonna just talk about them in general. But like what does it call it? Is it the butterfly when they like open the dude's back and have like him hanging. I think butterflying him is the term. Maybe that's the wrong term, but that insane image. But where I was going was the opening of this film is like what like horrified me the most with the freaking just like her parents with the gas masks on, just with that piercing alarm sound ringing in the background. Like such an insane way to open a movie.
Unbelievable way to open a movie.
Yeah, just immediately I was like, holy fuck. And then you get like a mirror jump scare moment when they first kind of get to the Midsommar town. But then after that, really most of the scares are just from the disturbing elements of this, seedy cult latching its claws into these, outsider tourists that are coming there to study them, and how things go south very quickly. And Florence Pugh is great as well, the May Queen. But yeah, this is my colleague, like my boss at work is from either Norway or Sweden, one of the two, but she was there for like Midsommar, which is obviously like a thing there. And then she's like, "Oh, are you familiar with this?" I'm like, "I mean, I've seen a horror movie about it. That's all I know." So I'm like, hate being that annoying person that's like, why am I bringing up Ari Aster to colleagues at work? Because I don't want my boss to then like Google Midsommar the movie and be like, "Oh, this is about, near where I grew up as a child in Sweden. Let me watch this movie that my subordinate just told me about." But yeah, not a movie you think you'd want to recommend to your boss. But George, what are your thoughts on Midsommar?
Yeah, I wish I got around to rewatching it. I think it's been like 2 or 3 years since I rewatched it, maybe a little less. It's one of the movies that fell into my batch of removing ratings on Letterboxd because it's just been too long. But yeah, crazy movie. The shift of Aster from Hereditary all the way to Eddington is obviously jarring, but like the aesthetic shift from Hereditary to Midsommar a year later is absolutely insane. That's its own little reinvention within horror that I think is really applaudable, especially coming off of the success of Hereditary. Like Doug said earlier, like he could have milked 10 Hereditaries and really capitalized on that. But he turned to daylight, he turned to the cults, and he made this really like vibrant, colored, disturbing horror film. It's an insane switch up, and above all, I think it's just a very respectable, like, I don't want to call it a career suicide, but like it's such a way to like play around with your career, being like, hey, I just gave you Hereditary, you now are going to say elevated horror every day. People are arguing that this should have been nominated for Oscars. It's one of the most influential psychological horror films out there. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to give you this really picturesque horror film that doesn't touch on ghosts and goblins and demons. It's about cults. We're going to continue like family trauma, but we're going to turn it supernatural. And it's a wild switch up, and it is a really disturbing film. I remember watching this. I watched this for the first time by myself, and then maybe like 2 years or 3 years into dating, I made Victoria watch it. And I think she came close to breaking up with me on that day for making her watch this movie.
No, when I watched it the second time, Riley walked in like soon after I started it, and she sat and watched it with me, and she's like, "This is fucking terrible. Like,
it's
what are you watching?"
Yeah, it's a really like,
which is, again, it goes back to like, I don't know why this is such a like popular movie that like everyone's like, it's one of the most popular movies on Letterboxd, like ever, in terms of logs. It's like,
I mean most of that can probably be attributed to just word of mouth. Like people are just talking so much about this movie at the time of its release, and even up until now, and being like, oh my god, one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen. Like you have to watch it just to understand like the darkness that a film can like take you to. Like I think word of mouth elevated it to like one of Letterboxd's most popular films.
I think it's an easily recommendable concept film as well that people would be interested in just by saying like, oh, it's like a horror film that fully takes place in the light during the day. So I think a lot of people are just fans of horror. Like I want to see how you can make that scary.
Yeah, it's also Ari Aster. Like he's coming off of Hereditary. A lot of people are going to be wildly interested in watching his follow-up film at his sophomore outing.
This was also like peak A24, like insane underdog marketing too, back in like late 2010s.
Yeah. And you got like Florence Pugh at like, I guess like not the start of her career, but at like the start of her like mature career, I would say, before she gets into like the oppies and the dunes and I was about to say fighting with my family, but that's a crazy movie to pull out.
Yeah, this was Florence Pugh before she got really famous and Fighting with My Family.
Yeah.
I mean, it came out the same year as Little Women, which she was like, the third most popular lead actress in that film at the time when that came out. Like, she was definitely behind Saoirse Ronan, like obviously behind Emma Watson. Now I'd say she's definitely way past Saoirse Ronan in terms of like general pop culture fame and notoriety.
The most famous out of them, and it's not even close now.
Especially now, but like, Emma Watson at her peak, like, during the Harry Potter.
At her peak when she was 15 years old.
Before she was, behind bars for driving 38 and a 30. The fall of one of our greats, Emma Watson. But anything else we want to say in Midsommar before we move on to his third film?
No, sir.
All right. Well, the third film, again, so Hereditary and Midsommar, 2018, 2019, back to back immediately. And then we get a break of 4 years before Beau is Afraid comes out, Disappointment Boulevard. This is everything we talked about with how Hereditary and Midsommar, one of the most logged movies, always in the pop culture, very successful as well. And successful long after they were in theaters. All kind of builds up to this like Beau is Afraid movie where A24 gives Ari Aster a massive check. If I'm not wrong, it was the biggest check at the time. I think
it was some real shit. It was so sick.
Yeah, I believe at the time it was their largest budget film, which it's I know for sure has been passed since, but I think at the time it was the most, which again kind of goes back to like Ari Aster just being one of the A24 guys that are kind of always going to be able to get mostly what they want from that studio, just like Alex Garland, just because of the history and what they've done for the rise of that distributing platform. But Beau is Afraid comes out 2023 in IMAX, which is just wild. Which I guess Hereditary and Midsommar, I think both have been re-released in IMAX at this point because A24 is doing that like whole like re-releasing a ton of movies in IMAX. But this is like a tried and true like came out in IMAX movie because I remember seeing it at the real IMAX and Harkins and Arizona Mills.
I think that was the second movie I ever saw at Lincoln Square.
Oh, there you go.
Lincoln Square IMAX.
Following the sudden death of his mother, a mild-mannered and anxiety-ridden man confronts his darkest fears as he embarks on an epic Kafkaesque odyssey back home. So Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, 2 years or 3 years early. But, Joaquin Phoenix, Patty LuPone, Amy Ryan, Nathan Lane, Parker Posey, Steve McKinley Henderson. But yeah, I think, Joaquin Phoenix, his career has been really interesting in the last, I don't know, his post-Joker career has been really interesting. And I personally really like his performance in both the Ari Aster movies that he's been in. I think he gets a really interesting side out of Joaquin Phoenix. I think that they're both Ari Aster as a director and Joaquin Phoenix as a person. Like Ari Aster as a director, I think a lot of people just find really annoying. And Joaquin Phoenix is a person that, he's just kind of like an asshole in many ways. So it's
match made in heaven.
Right. Like they're pairing together. They just like kind of understand each other in like in a negative way. But I think that makes their relationship work really well. But Beau is Afraid is a movie I've seen 4 times now. It's the most watched Ari Aster film of mine, which makes sense for me. I'm not a big horror guy. Like I'm a little, wuss at the end of the day. So I am more gravitates towards this, which this has horror elements, but it's clearly not nearly the level of Midsommar and Hereditary. But I just really loved this journey from day one. The first time I watched it in IMAX, I was like, wow, not expecting that. Because going into this, like, coming after Hereditary and Midsommar, everyone's kind of going to the theater expecting to be, this new terrifying experience that's going to disturb them and sit with them, which it quite really isn't that. And this movie is also like 3 hours long. It's 179 minutes, so a minute under 3 hours. Crazy film. But I'm personally just like a really big fan of. But Doug, we'll go to you. What are your thoughts on Beau is Afraid?
Oh man, Beau is Afraid is so interesting because it is like one of those few real blank check movies that you can point to, and it was like, yeah, this guy, like a studio with money, let this like writer director literally do anything they wanted to make him happy. Right. It was real. And like anything, as in like they gave him like a bunch of money and they put this movie in IMAX knowing that the shit was going to make $0 just to appease him. And that is so awesome. I saw Beau is Afraid a few times in theaters because I was like, this movie, this goes into my thesis about Ari Aster, which is like me and him are the same guy. I think me and Ari Aster are like the same kind of annoying, like little like I don't know, like annoying little white guys. Because Beau's Afraid is like the story of my life. I watch this movie and I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like every time anything happens in that movie, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I've been there, you know. So I really like the movie a lot. I think it's just awesome. I mean, it's like a mess. Kind of. I think it tries like so much stuff happens. Formally, he's trying to do so many different things. But it's just cool. This is really what sans Ari Aster. This is what Beau's Afraid is really what puts Ari Aster in a different level, not different level, in a different group than all of his like contemporary like filmmakers next to him, you know? Because nobody is just trying to do weird.
Doug cut out.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I get what he's saying though, because people always bunch Aster, Peele, Eggers. Am I missing one? I feel like I'm missing one. Those are kind of the three, right? The people are talking about
those,
like the three.
No.
No, you're back, Doug. You're back.
Oh,
Continue your thought. Oh, no, he's gone. But no, I mean, I get what he's saying because Beau's Afraid is similar to like Eggers' Third in the sense that like that was also not like a blank check, but a very high production budget for The Northman compared to his previous films, which The Lighthouse is a very much like a one location tight horror film. And The Witch was again very like grounded, rooted, like pretty low budget film as well. So then like going to The Northman. So it's like I can see what he's saying where this goes a big budget, but it does separate them kind of in a different group here because like, and I'm not saying in a negative way, but like Peele and Eggers, you know, they're kind of doing their thing, you know, they kind of have their same style. It kind of permeates, you know, I'd say Peele a little different because his third film goes way more into the sci-fi, but Eggers is clearly a guy that kind of knows what he wants to do and he keeps doing it. Whereas this is where Aster really just takes a big veer, takes a left turn and does something completely different than anyone expects from him.
Yeah, I don't know how into Beau's Afraid I am. I think it's like one. I mean, now Eddington is here, but I think it's the one Aster film prior to Eddington that I just never cared to revisit, and one that I didn't even like think about all that often. Like it was very much okay, I saw it, I experienced it. It's this psychological odyssey in a literal sense, but I don't know if I'll ever have the, you know, need or want to rewatch it. With that said, I think it's crazy that Ari Aster is getting these performances out of Joaquin Phoenix. I think you mentioned it in your review, Tyler. Like would never have pegged Ari Aster to be the filmmaker that gets the best out of Joaquin Phoenix. Obviously, I think he's one of our best of the 21st century, but even in Eddington, a film I really did not like. I think he's the one thing that's really kind of holding that film together in a very positive way, I think. And Beau's Afraid, I think he's just absolutely, he's so tragic, but he's so darkly funny in a way that, like, if I were to think about this movie or if I were to have a desire to rewatch it, it would be exclusively because of just wanting to revisit that particular Joaquin Phoenix performance. But yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on Beau's Afraid. It's weird. It's odd. It's a movie I don't even think I fully understood on first watch. And it took a lot of due diligence and a lot of reading up to like really understand like what mindset Ari Aster was like at and what I was supposed to be like taking away from this film. But I do love me some psychological journeys, and this is literally a journey. So yeah, I don't know. I need to revisit it. I'm going to not give more thoughts because I don't want to be like overly disrespectful to a film I haven't seen in 3 years or whenever this thing came out. But it's just, it's definitely a film I just don't ever care to revisit.
I don't know. The more I rewatch it, the more I talk about it, the more I think about it. I like this film so much more. Like I really love this film. I think, especially the second time I watched it, like once you know where the final destination is going of this Odyssey and rewatching it after that was just wild because there's just so many like clues dropped throughout the way to figure out like what's exactly going on here with like his mom and like this trial that Beau is on for like his love and allegiance to his mom, and how all these characters are just characters in the simulation trying to pull out of him like, is he actually in love with his mom and cares for his mom? Like, it's such a wild film. And I think the first 45 minutes are some of my favorite 45 minutes of like this entire decade of film, where it's just anxiety the whole time, hilarious of him trying to get on the flight to go home and how just anxiety inducing everything is in his life and how stressful everything is in his life, and him trying to get to the plane. He takes his pills. He's like, shit, you need 8 ounces of water. He just starts freaking out. Has to run to the gas station across the street. People infiltrate his apartment. The entire first 45 minutes, I think, are a complete riot. But this movie's kind of really broken up into 3 segments. The second segment, the middle segment, being with Holly from The Office, Amy Ryan, and her home, trying to recuperate from his wounds while also continuing to go on this odyssey to get home to his mother, and again on trial the entire time. And I think Joaquin Phoenix is just so good in this movie. Like, he is just so perfect for this role. I love, like, every time, like, he's just so perfect at portraying the exact emotion of someone who just like tries to appease and please everyone, where like he's like, Mom, I can't come home because like, my apartment got broken into. Like, I can't just leave here. It's unsafe. And she gets mad at him. He's like, oh no, like, don't worry. Like, I'll come home. Like that, and just completely backtracks. And he does that so many times throughout, where he'll be firm and like, he'll take a stance for something and be firm in his belief. And then someone questions it. At the first sign of someone questioning it or challenging it, he just immediately backtracks and wants to please everyone in his life. But I think he's just great in this. I think Ari Aster pulls something special out of Joaquin Phoenix both times now. And this movie is just a ride. It's just a journey. It's funny. It's grim. It's gorgeous. I think a lot of the colors of Midsommar, overflow into this and pour onto the screen. A complete different but welcome to different film from Ari Aster. And I don't know, I just really dig this movie. I just think everything works for me. I think the first time there's a little bit of shock and awe the first time I saw it, but then once you kind of figure out where this all leads, I really just get a lot out of it every time I rewatch it. And I still have so much fun with all the performances, just the batshit nature of it all. So much is packed into this 3 hours. And I think for the most part, a lot more times than not, it comes together and works. Doug, I know you're cut now. Do you have anything else you want to say on Beau's Afraid?
Yeah, I'm so sorry about Joaquin Phoenix's performance. I think that it's so awesome that he found Ari Aster, that they found each other, because they are like, Joaquin Phoenix famously like the most annoying like movie star. Not even annoying in like that, like how like Jared Leto's like an evil person, but Joaquin Phoenix is just like an annoying guy, like just like hard to work with because he's just like he has a difficult personality. And I think that it makes so much sense that he would connect and trust Ari Aster so much. No, this movie is so good.
And Joaquin Phoenix and Ari Aster end up pairing together again for Eddington, which I'm looking to cast Beau's Afraid. Unless I'm mistaken, I believe that's the only crossover. Oh, also speaking of Beau's Afraid, just looking at the cast, reminding me of this very fun cameo from Bill Hader in this as the UPS or the FedEx delivery man who finds Beau's mom dead. All time, again, one of my favorite like funny moments of the decade as well, when he like when Beau calls his mom's phone and the UPS driver's explaining that his mom's dead, and then Beau just freaks out. And then at the end, like the UPS driver's like, oh, maybe you just called the wrong number. Just try calling back. And this probably didn't happen. Then he calls back. He's just like, I'm so sorry. Hilarious. Great stuff. Like this movie has such a great fusion of comedy and horror and drama. But then we get into Eddington, comes 2 years after Beau's Afraid. Again, Ari Aster being able to get the budget from A24 to be able to make his Western, which he had ideas for a Western and, drafts of the script even before Hereditary came out. But obviously the whole COVID angle and a lot of the actual way it came together is a more recent addition. But before Hereditary, like he always had plans for a Western. He was always having scripts at the helm ready to go for a Western film. So it was just a matter of time. And it's the latest genre. He kind of ticks off here with this modern Western, which, some could say is like the definitive modern Western in terms of the COVID era for sure. But we have Eddington. Hindsight is 2020. In May of 2020, a standoff between a small town sheriff and mayor sparks a powder keg as neighbor is pitted against neighbor in Eddington, New Mexico. Incredibly stacked cast. You have Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal as these, the two mayoral candidates going head to head. But you have Emma Stone, who is a estranged wife of Joaquin Phoenix in this movie. Austin Butler, who is in it way less than I thought, but he's kind of like, this evangelist, religious kind of cult-like leader. But then you have Luke Grimes as well. You have, I don't know how to even pronounce her name, Deirdre O'Connell, but Michael Ward, what other Michael Ward? Oh, Empire of Light. I always thought he was so great in that movie that it's like not great. But Michael Ward was a standout in that movie, so I'm happy to see him in more stuff. And I think he is really solid in this as well. But yeah, this came out obviously this weekend. It has a 3.3 right now on Letterboxd. It's a very divisive film in terms of reactions. I mentioned in our, kind of group chat the other day that there's like 6 people in my theater, 2 people walked out. And then one guy in my row is like, who is an older gentleman. He was just like hooting and hollering the whole time as well. So even just in my tiny sample size of a 6-person figure in not nearly as rural as Eddington, but small town in the sense it's like a 60,000 population, 45 minutes away from Phoenix. So like the landscape and the environment and the type of people, pretty similar to honestly like what Eddington, New Mexico's like demographics look like, because we're just one state over and similarly removed from a major city, which I believe Santa Fe would be the closest one where Eddington is from. But I think we're gonna sandwich our reviews and criticisms here. Just we're gonna go, compliment, negative, compliment, like how they teach you to give people critical feedback. So we're gonna start with Doug, and we'll go to George, and we'll go to me. Doug starts completely spoiler free, so mostly just like high level takeaways, thoughts, and we'll all kind of give that, and then we'll break into spoilers where we'll kind of go a lot deeper into it. So what do you think?
Bro, no one listening to this gives a fuck about what I think.
I disagree.
I love Eddington. More, and I'm a big Ari Aster fan, and I was like, oh, he missed, because I was following like all of the reactions out of Cannes pretty closely because I'm really invested in a couple of those movies. Invested in the sense that I want to watch them, right? And the reactions out of Eddington, like the reactions out of Cannes about Eddington were so freaking negative. So I was like, whatever. Whatever. He bit off more than he can chew. And then I was like, no, bro, this guy's so sick. This guy is so sick. But it's also like, even watching Eddington, I'm sitting there in my fucking little theater seat, exhausted after a hard day of being a big guy. And I'm like, man, this guy, Ari Aster is an annoying asshole, bro. And I was like, does he not get embarrassed to like write down all of this stuff and like send it to like these movie stars and producers and like all these agents and be like, yeah, here's my idea for this movie. It's about COVID. And like in the movie, you have like this white kid, you have this white incel talking about like anti-racism, doing like performative activism. And it's like, dude, does he not get embarrassed to like have Pedro Pascal read this? That's Joel from The Last of Us. But I fucking,
that's Reed Richards.
That's mother freaking Reed Richards, bro. He's in the MCU. I I think that Eddington is really freaking sick. It's another one of those things where it's like I wouldn't even think. It's like so many. Oh my god. Okay, this movie has so many thoughts that I have also thought, right, about COVID era politics, like performative politics, and how insane of a time period that was for like everybody just like became schizophrenic. And I think that he captures a lot of those ideas so specifically, and it's so detail oriented, like the doom scrolling on Facebook, and like the mom with the 4chan tabs open on her fucking computer, and like Adam Naiman really highlights this in his review, where it's the bumper sticker that has the wrong "your" on it, and it's so detailed and so interesting that you can tell that Ari Aster really thought about how insane COVID was, which I like, because most artists want to pretend like COVID never fucking happened because it sucked. But the big thing about this movie, that, and I don't want to touchy subject, but this movie does something that I think is so brave for a major filmmaker to do, and that is to really like lean into and focus on screens and how human beings are just brainwashed by screens all the time. I think The Shrouds does something similar. Obviously, The Shrouds doesn't exist in the real world. That's like kind of like a because they're using like fake technology and stuff. But The Shrouds also like has so many screens, and it's a big part of that movie. But in this, it's like the movie opens up and Joaquin Phoenix is watching a YouTube video on his phone on how to manipulate his wife into wanting to have sex with him, right? But he's watching it like like vertical YouTube video on his fucking car dashboard, and it's like that's real as fuck, bro. That's what this old ass conservative dude would be doing, watching like vertical YouTube videos. And it's so I don't know, man. There's so much to this movie. There's so much going on. It's like people, I don't know. The politics are a little touchy, but my kind of the politics that I'm putting into it are more like everybody in this movie is a fucking piece of shit in their own way, and everybody sucks, and everybody in this movie is kind of stupid because they don't have the same political views as me, right? And then by the end of it, and we're not doing spoilers yet, by the end of it, it goes so off the rails and so like the politics of the movie like explodes, and it's kind of like Ari Aster like hissing in everybody's face and being like all of you guys are fucking dumb as shit, basically. And it's so awesome. I don't know. I freaking like this movie a lot, guys. What do you guys think? George, what do you think?
I didn't like this movie all that much at all, actually. I do feel bad for people that are saying like, oh, last week we got George versus Cam. This week we're getting George versus Tyler. You're not getting that. I'm sorry. I don't even care to like argue this film. Honestly, I'm more intrigued by what you two are gonna have to say, because I want to like understand why you guys are loving this movie so much more than I am. But it's also even like among my mutuals, I'm seeing 0.5 stars, 1 stars, and I'm seeing 4.5s and 5 stars. So it's already one of the most polarizing films of the year. But yeah, I don't know. That was a nauseating experience. It was so unbelievably annoying to sit through. And I think my biggest problem with the movie is that I'm just unimpressed. Like, I think you have this dude in Ari Aster who I think has obviously proven to be a relatively smart dude in like a very out of pocket way. But I'm very just unimpressed with his approach to Eddington. Like, there's no like political depth. There's no like really profound nuances. Like, it really does feel like he just ran down a checklist of like COVID era America, COVID era politics, and just threw it into his movies. Joaquin Phoenix's character is the only one that felt like he had any like real personality or real like that's a real person, whereas everyone else is kind of like phoning in a performance, and everyone else's characterization is very like just not great. Like, everything is just so surface level when it comes to any character outside of Joaquin Phoenix. Like Emma Stone, how do you waste 2-time Oscar winner Emma Stone like that?
This is her best performance. This might be career best work from Emma Stone. This is unbelievable.
I was politely asked to remain calm and patient on this podcast by someone, so I'm going to. Saying this is Emma Stone's best performance has got to be the most delusional take that's ever been dropped on the ReelTok podcast. That is absolute insane. Doug, I love you, man. That's insane. She has 3 words all movie. All she does is sit there and serve face with a depressing look for 2.5 hours.
Do you know how good of an actor you have to be to do that, though?
Honestly, I don't think you have to be that good of an actor. And I don't think, and I'll make it even worse. I don't think you have to be that good of a writer to write Eddington. Like, I really don't. I don't like up until the final act. I think this whole movie is just a checklist of COVID era politics. I am surprised to hear people are walking out of those theaters. No one walked out of my theater. And my theater was like absolutely like chuckling. But also like
New York is different than most of the world.
I was going to say, watching this particular movie in New York City, like New York City is the performative political personality hub of the world. Like, that was a theater full of people that throw anything and everything on their Instagram stories without knowing why or the implications of it. So like, it makes sense that like my theater and every theater in New York City is probably going to love this movie. It's a movie that absolutely just is going to make all of them feel like so smart and so intelligent, which like in a way it does. Like, we lived through COVID. We lived through like this era of American politics. I think my biggest problem with this movie is just how unimpressed I am with the writing. Like, you say this movie is very detail oriented. And I do agree with like some of the examples you gave with like the open tabs on the mom's computer and the way Joaquin Phoenix is like watching a horizontal, is watching a vertical YouTube video and those things. But I think beyond that, I don't think there's any like real detail in the politics of this writing. Like you run like you move from like the debates on the masks to the black squares on Instagram, all the way to the end where the mom even drops like like two towers shouldn't fall like that. Like it's just very like you're making a movie about like conspiracy riddled America, and you're including every single thing that you would expect to hear. It's like it's really just a checklist of, like I've been saying, it's just a checklist of COVID era politics. Like Ari Aster's always been a filmmaker that has like flirted with pretension. Like you said, Doug, like he's the filmmaker that we can credit for like elevated horror being like a common phrase in horror movies. So he's always absolutely been like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I think it's just the reality of who Ari Aster is, but he's always been like a pretentious kind of guy. This is really just diving headfirst into it. And I think he's abandoning emotional clarity. I think there are a lot of half-baked ideas. I think there are a lot of moments that like, and I say this even with a 1-star review, but there are a lot of moments where I was like, wow, like, especially that final act. Like the final act across the entire movie would have been incredible, where you're taking these ideas and you are just ramping it up to maximum effort in how you want to display them. And I really do like that final act. I think that final act is really something like, I wish the rest of the film were, I guess, that bold and that brave, where I think the first 2 acts, or I feel like this movie's even broken into like 4-act structure, honestly. But I think the first 2 acts of this movie, I don't think there's just any emotional clarity. I don't think the ideas are half-baked. Like I think his ideas are there. I just don't think they're given to me in a way that's going to make me like critically think. Like it's like, yes, everyone posted black squares on this Instagram. Yes, everyone argued, do we wear a mask? Do we not wear a mask? Blah, blah, blah. It's like there's so many ideas that are shown in this movie, and I'm just like, okay, but you're not like giving me anything above that. You're not like giving me anything to like really expand on this conversation. Like Tyler, I think you mentioned it. I think it's your entire opening Letterboxd review paragraph where you're like, yes, what do you say? You say like Ari Aster touches on opportunism, mega corporate greed, the profitability of tragedy. And you go down, you run down like everything that Ari Aster is touching in this film. And I completely agree with you. Like all of that stuff is there in this movie, but I don't think it's given to me in a way that's going to make me like really resonate with it. It's like, yes, like why is Ari Aster making this movie, but not like giving it to me in a way that's going to like really like open new conversation. Like, I don't think he's opening anything new. I think he's just running through COVID experience, COVID American politics in a way that's just very like shallow and half baked. But yeah, I didn't like the movie. I really didn't. I don't know. It's fine. I do like Joaquin Phoenix. I really do. I think he's the absolute best part. But like Pedro Pascal is just phoning in this caricature of a small town mayor. I think Austin Butler is just like, and maybe that's the point of Austin Butler's character, is just to be this incredibly stereotypical like dark web conspiracy theorist. But like I didn't love his performance. I didn't love his like involvement in the film. I think Emma Stone is phoning it in. She's just kind of sitting there looking sad the entire time, doing absolutely nothing. But yeah, I don't know. I really did want to love this. I don't love. I've been seeing a lot of people, and I'm not going to call out who, or it's not even who. It's a lot of people. But I don't love the like this movie shouldn't have been made argument. I think that's a lazy critique of the movie. Like I've seen people saying like, why would you make a movie about this era of politics when we're kind of still riding it in like late 2025? I don't like that. Like I just make movies whenever you want. That's not a part of the negatives. I just think it's like Ari Aster's at a point of his career where A24 is going to write him blank checks. And he's too acclaimed of a director at this point
for anyone to be like, don't do that. Like, it's not bold. I don't think it's visionary. I think it's just boring. And I think it's just a very cliche ridden film that I don't think I necessarily really love. I think it could have, like, it had the potential of being an important film. But there are some things that I think are just like not inexcusable, but like, how are we not mentioning like certain aspects of like that era of American politics? Like you're using George Floyd, you're using Black Lives Matter, but how are you not going to mention MAGA? How are you not going to mention Donald Trump? Like, I think there are just little bits and pieces here and there that are like, how are you going to ignore this very important part of COVID era politics? So I don't know. I half baked is the word that I keep coming back to. I think it's just, I think there was potential here, and I do, believe it or not, the Western aspect of the film I like more than I expected, just considering I'm not a big Western guy, but I do like the small town vibes. I like the mayor versus sheriff vibes. I think it could have been intriguing throwing that aesthetic and that small town Eddington, vibes into COVID era American politics, but I don't know. The satire just didn't land for me. The satire really just didn't land for me. I don't think I'm the target audience. Like I said, this is like the perfect movie for a bunch of New York City folk to listen to watch. Like I started chuckling at one point, Joaquin Phoenix is scrolling Instagram and the black squares come up and my theater like explodes in laughter. And I'm like, yeah, it's funny, but like, everyone in this theater is a little hypocritical because this is New York City. 95% of you posted black squares on your Instagram without understanding why, without understanding for who, for what, or its implication. And now you're 2, 3 years, 4 years later laughing about it in a movie. Like, it's very performative laughter in this movie. It's very performative politics. I don't know. I really didn't enjoy my time with this movie. I am going to rewatch it. And I'm surprised that I'm saying that. There are very few instances where I'll give a movie a half star or a 1 star, and I'll feel the need to rewatch it. I do want to rewatch it, especially after like what I imagine is you two about to talk about, like more in detail of what you liked. And I think I'm going to want to rewatch it and just maybe like, now that I understand what Ari Aster is going for, maybe just approach it with like a different lens. But I don't know. On first watch, I was itching to get out of that movie, man. I was getting antsy in my theater. I felt bad for Sophie at one point. I kept moving. I kept readjusting. I was probably so annoying to sit next to for that 2.5 hour runtime. I was sweating my ass off. It was like 95 degrees in that theater. But yeah, I landed at a 1 star. I really didn't like the movie, unfortunately. But yeah, those are my thoughts. My bad for yapping for a bit.
Did you see it at Lincoln Square?
We did, yeah. It wasn't in IMAX or Dolby.
So what? Lincoln Square flooding. Now there's AC issues. You're taking us to this theater this week, saying it's like the mecca of theaters, and it sounds like the shittiest theater in the world.
Is it even open?
It is open, yeah. But I think
Jesus Christ.
sweating. I think the sweating thing was me, because right when the movie ended, I looked at Sophie, and the first thing I said was, dude, it's so hot in here. And she's like, what? No, it's not. And I'm like, is it just me? And in my head, I'm like, is the movie making me this like uncomfortable that it's making me just absolutely drip in sweat right now?
That might be the biggest positive you can give.
I was going to say, so at least it
affected you at least.
It gave me bodily fluids pouring down my face.
Or you have a flu, and I'm not excited to see you tomorrow. So one of the two things: either this is an effective Aster film, or you're about to get all of ReelTok.
Yeah,
one of the two.
We'll see. I feel great.
I'll go quicker through my overall thoughts. We can get into spoilers and talk about it a little deeper. But I don't know. This is one that so we all sat at like the same showtime for this. We were all like sitting to watch this at the same time. But the local theater chain in Arizona, Harkins, like their big value proposition is that they show way less ads than like AMC and the local other theater chains. So like, I got out of it like our show times, I think we're all the same because we're all sitting at the same time, but I got out of it like 15 minutes before all of you did. And I texted Doug and me. I'm like, Doug. And I'm like, I need your reaction. Because I'm like, I just witnessed something here. And I was like, I need to know if I'm like insane. And I was like grappling with writing my review or sleeping on it because I like texted, I think Doug, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm at a 4.5 right now. Like that's where my slice of time, like right here is what I'm thinking, but I want to sleep on it. But I didn't end up sleeping on it, wrote about it, went to bed, woke up, and I was like, 20 times more confident my 4.5. Like, I don't know, like this again, like to George's point about like, there's not going to be like a ReelTok fight like last week. Like Superman's a character like George, like that's a character you can have like a relationship to. Like George wasn't like, George coming into this was saying like these trailers look annoying and like there's no like there was no like letdown really here. I mean, maybe you liked it less than you thought, but I don't think this is gonna be the passionate argument. I'm not gonna be standing here like, what, you wanted Emma Stone to have a gun in this movie? Would that be better if Emma Stone had a gun? So we're not gonna have those moments recreated, but I think this movie
what was the movie not woke enough for you?
Yeah.
Yankee? Oh my god.
Yeah. This movie is, I don't know. I think it's monumental. I think this is like a brilliant film. The more I think about it, the more I fall in love with it. It's crazy. There's so many ideas stuffed in here. And like my first paragraph of my Letterboxd review touches on a lot, but there's like so much here I didn't even cover that I need to rewatch. Like I was really hoping that like a cam rip was going to be available because I didn't have time to go to the theater yesterday, but I really wanted to like throw it on again. Like,
yeah, you texted me and you were like,
scene.
I need that cam rip immediately. And I didn't respond, but I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, because I didn't have time to go to a theater because like I'm like getting ready for New York, but I was like, I would have time to like throw it up and like watch some scenes that I wanted to see again before coming on this review, or at least watch the whole thing again. But from my home. So I really want to watch it again. But because I didn't even touch on things like I think there's a lot of interesting dynamics between the town and the Native American community in that town as well. Just stuff I didn't even go into in my review. And I just think there's a lot there that it's going to take even more layers to uncover with rewatches. But I think filmmakers are so scared of tackling COVID. And the way we've seen it covered is in movies like The Bubble, in movies like Sick, in movies like Glass Onion, where it's a quick throwaway joke and then they don't mention it again after they do a temperature test.
Yeah, all these dumbass hacks are going at it.
Like no one's like, and it's like, I get it. You don't want to relive a time that's hard, but like this is the most pivotal few years of several generations, and it's going to define the next several decades with not only like the COVID of it all and what happened with the global pandemic and how that has stunted the growth of an entire generation, how that has made scrolling on your screens an addiction beyond anyone's wildest imagination, how the Black Lives Matter happening at the same time and all that, the social unrest that occurred for years following that as well. Like so much of this happened at one point in time in 1 year of 2020 that kicked off this decade. And like no director's tackling it, and just drives me crazy. And then every time it's like brought up in a film, which actually I can agree with people when like, it's annoying when you bring up COVID in films like Glass Onion, because it serves nothing of the plot, where it's like, we're just going to make a joke about COVID. The movie opens up with Catherine Hahn with her mask on and be like, oh, sorry, I can't hear you well. But then it's like, COVID's like talked about and then it's just like dusted away. And I think that can be annoying too, because like, if you're going to bring up COVID, like at least like have like a meaningful conversation about it, and don't just like throw it in there to remind us all of something we hated and just not even talk about it anymore. But I think this film tackles it really well. And like Doug said, technology and social media is so straight away from a lot of contemporary filmmaking as well. And I think Ari Aster just makes it work so well. Like and Beau is Afraid as well. I think he just uses cell phones and modern technology seamlessly in his films. And it just makes me wonder, like, everyone acts like it's so hard to like make movies with cell phones in it or iPhones or social media, and like characters, it's impossible to write characters when like the character in the world would have had like a Twitter account and stuff like that. It's like, it works so well in this movie, the from different generations in this film as well, how when people are scared in society, whether it's from a virus, whether it's from social injustice, whether it's from violence creeping into their town, like whatever it is, like there is so much breeding ground for opportunity there for people to capitalize on that fear, take advantage of them, profit off of it, warp their minds, brainwash them. And it tackles it in both the coronavirus of it all, which is, you have the whole kind of first 45 minutes dedicated to that, and then it kind of pivots into, the Black Lives Matter movement. And I was born and raised in Minneapolis, like 25 minutes outside of Minneapolis. I lived there until I was 18 and moved out. All my friends still live there. My family still lives there. So like this, I had a lot of people in my life that were right there, living right there when everything with George Floyd went down. And I had people in my life ranging from my stepsisters who were on the streets at the protests for weeks in Minneapolis, to people in my family who like legitimately thought like you would need a bulletproof vest if you want to go to downtown Minneapolis because you will be murdered and shot dead because of how unruly people are. So it's like in my life, I had people on just completely different sides of the spectrum that, they're just fed these narratives, and then it's just a feedback loop that keeps pushing them down certain rabbit holes. Whereas what actually is going on is somewhere in between the two. But this movie kind of shows how people can go so far down the rabbit holes of right wing, left wing. Like in this movie, we'll save that for the spoiler talk where we get into it. But back to high level thoughts. Darius Kanji shoots this film. It's one of the best looking films of the year. I think it's gorgeous, both in terms of just the natural landscape of the desert. I think it is beautifully captured in this as well as the lighting. I think is really great. A lot of like with the police car lighting and the red light on Joaquin Phoenix's face in the beginning conversation, as well with the Native American tribal police, as well as just the shot selections. I think Darius Kanji, great pairing here with Ari Aster. Trying to think of what else I want to say without getting into specifics, but I think this is a film that's really easy to dismiss. And George, I know you thought I was subtweeting you, but it was more I spent the entire night.
You were subtweeting me.
I definitely wasn't. Like, I mean, you're like sure, like part of it because like you rated it low or whatever. But it's more. I read like I went down a rabbit hole of reading like I read 100 to 200 negative reviews, just like trying to see what people were disliking about it. Because I think that the concept of a film about coronavirus, about the Black Lives Matter, about just modern 2020 politics and what has happened, I think it would be impossible to make a film that's going to please everyone and be like a crowd pleasing film. And if you could make a crowd pleasing film about all the stuff that happened, I think it'd probably be like a really shitty film just because it's not going to do anything. So I think this is always going to be a divisive film. Anytime you tackle, especially, 5 years later, tackling what's gone down in this recent time and really putting a mirror in the face of a lot of people is always going to be divisive. But I thought Ari Aster kind of nailed it. I was a little suspicious going into it based on the Cannes reviews as well, just because it didn't really seem like anyone was really liking it much. But no, I walked away. I walked away a little bit floored from this. And like I said, I really want to rewatch it. I'm really eager to. I just have accepted that I really love Ari Aster at this point. I was texting Doug before this movie. I think we were both kind of in the same mindset. Like, there's no way we're going to like hate this movie probably just based on how much we like all of Ari Aster's work. But I ended up loving this, and we'll see what a rewatch says. But this could be like my favorite Ari Aster film. Who knows? I need to rewatch Hereditary and I need to rewatch this. But a lot of stuff I want to talk about gets into kind of what specifically goes on in the movie. So we'll break into spoilers at this point, so we can now freely talk about the film. So skip ahead via the timestamps if you don't want to be spoiled, because this is a film that a lot of what goes down here will kind of ruin some of what's going on. But starting with spoilers. So I don't know if we want to go through this movie beat for beat, but just talking more openly about the film. I think we'll start with the corona of it all, because I think the beginning is just funny, might be the wrong word, but it is comedic to look back at like what that time was like, because it is. And I saw Sophie wrote it in her review of like, she like on the subway, she noticed like a mask on the ground. It's like, it's crazy because COVID was just a time in our life that was like 2 to 3 years, depending on what part of the country you lived in. Some parts of the country opened up earlier, but being reminded of like what that was like, which I've like completely memory hold. And I think so many people did as well, which is why like I appreciate seeing a filmmaker tackle it, because I like seeing the tape on the floor of the grocery stores. I'm like, I totally forgot about that. How like grocery stores became like one lane and you're supposed to only go down one direction on each side. Like, obviously I remember like the whole 6 feet of it all and wearing the mask, but the small stuff, like the grocery store elements and having to wait in a queue to go in the grocery store, and people like being in your car by yourself, having a mask on. And like, some people think that's like stupid. Some people think you should always have it on. It's like forgetting all those intricacies of COVID. I think we're tackled really well in this, but I can see like, COVID is something that's tough to tackle in a movie, but I don't know. I think there's like, I can't, can either of you think of another movie that's actually like tackled COVID and didn't use it as just a comedic crutch? Like, has any film,
watched it, but
any mainstream film done it?
Isn't that movie like Little Fish that came out like 2 years ago? Isn't that about a pandemic? I never saw it, but I know it's a pretty highly regarded movie.
I don't know, but I can't think of any other film that's coming out that's like a big name film that people are like talking about that actually tackles COVID and doesn't just have it as a throwaway joke. Yeah. Then like the Black Lives Matter of it all, like this town of Eddington. I think there's just such an interesting look at these Black.
I don't want to move past the COVID stuff.
No, go ahead.
Real quick. I just want to like, yes, I think you're absolutely right in saying like there are movies out there, Glass Onion, I don't know what else you mentioned, but there are movies out there that don't mention COVID, and it's like, all right, shut the fuck up. Like, we get it. So like I've been saying, it's applaudable that we're diving this deep into COVID. And like I've been saying, I think this movie had the potential of being like important and conversational. my problem with the COVID stuff, and this is like the first, like, I don't know, what would you say, like half hour, 45 minutes of the movie before we kind of move into like the BLM stuff. It's like, it feels like the whole first COVID chunk of this movie is like, hey, remember this? Hey, remember that part of COVID? And like, without even like saying anything like narratively specific or giving me a narrative that it's like, okay, we have this sheriff versus this mayor, and they're going at it because of these COVID mandates. Do we wear a mask or not in the supermarket? Do we stand 6 feet apart or not in the supermarket? You know, it's a very like, hey, remember this part of COVID? Hey, remember when this happened during COVID? And I think that's what's bothering me about like the COVID. And, you know, even when we move on to the BLM stuff, I'll kind of uphold this same sentiment. It doesn't feel like Ari Aster's trying to like say anything like specific. It doesn't sound like he's trying to say anything like particularly like profound or intellectual. It feels like he's just kind of wanting to give his audience like a reaction, whether it's like to laugh at something that we did or to be like, oh shit, like I can't believe we did that. You know, it's a lot of just like Leo pointing and snapping at the screen and being like, oh, we lived through that. I remember that. I remember standing in line outside of a supermarket 6 feet apart. I remember, you know, do we wear our masks in the car or not? Blah, blah, blah. And like things like that. And like, I think that's what is like not sitting particularly well with me. Cause like you mentioned Glass Onion, how like the first you see COVID initially, they're getting tested before they go to the island. And that's very much like, oh, we're going to throw in COVID in this movie because like it's a part of our history now. And like, it's a normal thing to do. I think Eddington is doing that just on a larger scale. Like I'll keep saying this. I don't think this movie is giving us anything like intellectually resonant. Like it really is just an entire movie of, hey, remember those protests? Hey, remember the George Floyd protests? Hey, remember the black squares? Hey, remember standing in line with your masks on? And there's just nothing. And I say this in a disappointed way. I don't say this in like an angry way. I say this in a disappointed way because Ari Aster has very clearly proved in his career that he is this like very smart man, you know, even though he, you know, shows that level of intelligence in like this really weird, you know, if you're looking at Midsommar and Hereditary, sadistic kind of way, I'm a little like let down by how like anti-intellectual this film is. Like it really is just, okay, COVID happened. I'm going to make you guys relive COVID. I'll give you this sheriff versus mayor back and forth. I'll show you conspiracy theorists. I'll show you, you know, this mom on Facebook who's going down a rabbit hole who I'm sure a lot of people can relate to and point back at to someone else in their family. You know, I'll give you, you know, I'll give you a Kyle Rittenhouse tease at the end. I'll give you a 9/11 joke. It's very much just like, hey, remember all of that stuff you lived through in COVID era politics? Here it is. And there's just nothing. There's nothing more narratively to it that I think I'm caring for.
You're missing the part where it turns into fucking Call of Duty for the last 40 minutes of the movie.
I mentioned earlier that I do like the and first of all, I'm talking about the first act right now.
Yeah,
first act, COVID into BLM. I'm not talking about the final act because the final act is probably the only thing that's giving this movie a star right now.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from, I guess, but I personally like just completely disagree. I think COVID really sets up the entire thesis of the film of being able to have fear manipulating people, where you have these two sides where, you know, the people who are, you know, the COVID believers, I guess, you know, versus the COVID deniers. You want to put them in two distinct camps. It's like, you know, you have the fact versus the narratives people are pushing on you. And you have, you know, Joaquin Phoenix is very much a, you know, masks don't do anything. You're not even putting it up over your nose. How is that even effective? It's very performative, the way you're just throwing a mask on just to, you know, conform to what the government's telling you, but you're clearly not actually doing anything by just like having your nose fully exposed. And then, you know, they talk about, you know, the percentages. It's like, oh, well, you know, if we're all wearing masks, but you're not wearing a mask, that like increases everyone's percentage chance to 70%. Whereas COVID, which is a wild time where like we just got thrown into this pandemic where everyone was trying to figure out how do you survive and what do you do and how deadly is this and what are we doing to get through this and what is the best practices? How do we continue as a society? And it really just puts you in these two camps of the people that just completely deny it and say like, none of this is doing anything. I'm not going to waste my time, versus people are like, either you fully believe everything they're telling you with how to prevent it and how to, go about best practices, and you fall down that, you kind of conform and because you believe that's what's best for you, or you just are in the middle where you're like, I don't even know if this is doing anything for me wearing this mask, but like everyone else is doing it and I'm no better than everyone else. So I'm not just gonna be an asshole over here. Like, oh, I'm not wearing no mask because I can't breathe in this damn mask. I can't even hear what you're saying in this mask. Like all these bullshit loser arguments that like these incel idiots would say to try and get out of wearing masks. And the whole point of COVID too is like what made Pedro Pascal, like how people in power can just control, like use fear to control people and make them so scared of what's going on that they're going to use this disease as really a way to maintain their power and use it to keep their control over the populace. But I don't want to dominate the conversation. I'll let Doug jump in with the COVID stuff and where you kind of land on it.
So I'll have a lot to say in the next section that we talk about too, I guess. But the COVID stuff, I think I talked already about how detailed this movie is. I think it's so funny, and it's how so many people in this movie are just constantly wearing their masks wrong, right? Because that's like something that you just observed in real life when the shit was happening. Like, because like that is like real performative. Like that is like that is like the kind of performative like action that you just forget about because it doesn't really matter.
The designer mesh
on.
masks, like the luxury like mesh mask people would wear that just do nothing, but it's like, why are you wearing a mask at that point? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's like even like at the protests that they were doing, like bros had like masks like not on their noses and shit, and it was like, bro, what are we doing, bro? That's like, I remember that so clearly during COVID, and because like the idea, something that like the movie's so interesting because it does fucking hate everybody in the movie, but also like nobody in the movie is like completely correct, right? It's like Joaquin Phoenix is right. It's like, you guys are fucking stupid. But then Joaquin Phoenix is also like a broken human being that is also illiterate, and, it is like the whole movie is about how like fear can manipulate and control people, like Tyler said. It's really it's interesting to kind of take that idea and create, because again, this movie doesn't exist exactly in real life. It's like a version of it's like a memory of 2020 that exists in Ari Aster's head. And that is like an interesting thing to see because there's so much truth in that version that he's exists in his head. But yeah, the COVID stuff is interesting.
And okay, so next up kind of comes the BLM stuff, but do we want to touch in on anything? I think we might want it with Joaquin Phoenix and Emma Stone, their relationship, before we kind of dive into the BLM of it all. So we kind of realize that Doug touched on it, that Joaquin Phoenix is like trying to watch these YouTube videos to figure out how to like have a baby or like have sex with his wife, who clearly you find out is like not really interested in the physical side of the relationship. Well, any side of the relationship. She's very mentally and emotionally distant. And he starts to see like her and her mom are going down this rabbit hole online of this, what is his name? It's some weird name, like Vernon Jefferson, the Austin Butler character, who's like this guy going on a tour, preaching kind of like fear mongering, trying to get people to follow him as he's going to be the guiding hand to get them through this. So I know, George, you weren't a fan, but Doug, I guess we'll start with Doug because you were the one who said, this is Emma Stone's best performance. So before we get into the BLM stuff, let's talk about just the Emma Stone
of it
all and the relationship of it all. I figure you're being a little obtuse, but still kind of explain it a little bit because it comes from somewhere.
Oh, hello.
No,
Am I connected with you?
No, you're back.
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, I was rage rating when I said it's Emma Stone's best performance, but I do. Actually, I don't know if I am. It's like one of her best performances. It's tough. It's tough to compare performance.
He's out again. I'll take over. I don't think, like, I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm saying about Emma Stone. I don't think she's bad in this movie at all. I just think it's hysterical how much you're underutilizing a 2-time Oscar winner. I think Doug's trying to claw his way back in here right now. This brother's Wi-Fi is cracked. But yeah, like, I don't want anyone misinterpreting what I'm saying about Emma Stone's performance. Like, I don't think she's bad at all in this movie. I think I'm just more
again, disappointed is the word that I'm going to keep going back to, because like Doug said, this really is a movie about how Ari Aster remembers COVID. My problem is this is how everyone remembers COVID. Like there's nothing nuanced to his experience in COVID that like everyone else wasn't experiencing at the exact same time. But Emma Stone's performance is fine. Like I don't think she's bad. Doug's hands are on his head. This man looks visibly frustrated with his Wi-Fi right now.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, I'm going to keep going back to the whole disappointment side of things. It's like Joaquin Phoenix's character was the only one, I think, with like any real depth, any real intrigue, where I feel like Austin Butler, Emma Stone, Pedro Pascal, what was the mother's name? What's her name? Oh my God, O'Connell. I don't know her first name. But
I don't know. Deirdre O'Connell.
Yeah, Deirdre O'Connell. Right. Her character. Who else? That's really it. But like those are the main ones. But like every side character, just I don't know. It's just they're lifeless, just there to make someone remind them of someone in their life. Like everyone, like I said, everyone's got the aunt or the older mom that's active on Facebook, diving deep into conspiracies. Austin Butler is very much just like this loud, obnoxious caricature of a like dark web conspiracy theorist, fear mongerer, whatever you want to call him. Pedro Pascal is the very like goody two shoes mayor, blah blah blah. It's very like Joaquin Phoenix is the only character that has any sort of like creative writing around him, whereas everyone else, all of these side characters, just feel like they're just pieces, like just blank pawns on a chessboard.
No, that's not true. Like Pedro Pascal's character, his he's putting on so much face, right? But like he has like these his whole thing is like he's being controlled by these like wealthy backers. That is true, and he's doing like this this really gross like virtue signaling in his campaigning, and he's like a fucking asshole of a dad. Like he's a weird like dad that resents his child. It's like the Pedro Pascal character is so interesting and weird and specific, like so specific.
Like I don't know. Like, is he specific, or is he just like this like amalgamation of like every single political personality that America experiences? Like, I don't know. I don't see any like really like profound creative writing around that character. Like he just feels like Ari Aster's just taking a shot at anyone in power without giving it like any like real like merit.
Well, it's because the movie is kind of being presented, but again, from
I get if that's the intention. Again, like if that's the intention, cool. I just don't think it's like an intriguing approach.
Yeah, I mean, so I think Pedro Pascal's character is interesting because you have this guy who's the mayor who's using COVID to kind of control this town, who's backed by donors, which is very true with all politicians. They're just kind of like they're puppets for the mega elites, which is a big theme of this movie with Solid Gold Magic Corp. But also like the performativeness of all of his campaign ads showing like a loving son and a mother who abandoned him, when you realize the story is actually a lot darker than that. And he hates the son, like you said. There's allegations of pedophilia and statutory rape, I believe, because it's, with the Emma Stone character. So it's like, clearly this guy has a really dark past that is trying to look a lot more rosy here. And it makes you think at the beginning, he's like this like goody two shoes mayor who's conforming to, the COVID regulation and doing all that. But then you realize like everything he's doing is purely, for his own political gain, and for the fact that he's just a complete pawn for Solid Gold Magic Corp, and that he is up to a lot of illicit, nefarious activities. So I don't know. I thought Pedro Pascal was a super interesting character. And especially when you get to like the campaign party and the firework needle drop, and when that all boils up.
I'll give the movie that was walking up, lowering the music, walking away, turning around, walking back, getting slapped, leaving, getting in your car, and then breaking the top of the thing. That was funny.
That's a little later in the movie, which we'll get to. But my I didn't see it in Dolby or anything. But that firework needle drop, my speakers, that was pumping in that theater. That
Yeah,
was
it
It
was
was
loud
loud
as
as
hell.
fuck.
It was
It was
party.
loud as fuck.
Yeah. But no, so we'll kind of get on the BLM aspect now here. So the George Floyd murder happens and the protests begin, and obviously it sparks in Minneapolis and it spreads throughout the country. And you hear from characters talking that like Santa Fe, New Mexico, like the populous city, that's where like the big protests are going on. But we saw this not only with George Floyd, but with any kind of protest where people are like, how can I, in my small town of 100 people, join in on this and make our voices heard? And I've seen many times people say like, go to your town and be a protest of 3 people and get people aware of what's going on. And you see the black squares, like we said, you see these white people who grew up with no trife in the world or privilege and just all the privilege in the world starting to use phrases that like they have no idea really what it means, or they just learned about it yesterday and they're all of a sudden trying to talk on it like they're experts and speaking on behalf of a population that has lived this experience. And again, they just like read it online yesterday about some of these terms and they're going to start protesting about them like it's the Bible they're preaching. And I just think it's really interesting to not, because I feel like it's so easy to make a movie where you're just like calling all right-wing conspiracy theorists idiots, but acting like everyone on the left is like genius, everything they've done ever is smart and great and dandy. And then conversely, it's really easy to make a movie that makes the left look like idiots, but like people on the right are like the sensible, smart people, individuals. But Aster's really just calling everyone stupid assholes in this movie, and it's really apparent with just because again we said like this wasn't that long ago, 2020, where I remember exactly everything that's going down, especially being very rooted in Minneapolis and having so many people in my life still there when this is all happening. But as well as like I was living in Dallas at the time, like obviously like there was mass protests in the city of Dallas as well, living in a big city. So yeah, let's talk about BLM now. Let's get into that part because Doug, I believe, I mean, if your connection is good, you said you had a lot you wanted to say on this part.
Well, yeah, if you can hear me.
Yep.
We got you, Doug.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. This BLM era, like 2020, was fucking ridiculous. It was so, and I don't mean like it was ridiculous in the sense that like not that it didn't matter. It does matter. Like racism, like systematic racism is like one of the biggest things in the world, like biggest deals in the world, right? In terms of like serious topics you could talk about. But like what I remember, like what really like captures this era of fucking politics was Logan Paul going on his fucking podcast Impulsive and being like, guys, we have to be more than just not be racist. We have to be anti-racist. Fucking Logan Paul, who like in circles with fucking the Tate brothers and like Dana White and like all of these fucking horrible systems of like evil, right? And greed. And it's like that guy is going on his fucking podcast, like virtue signaling, like fucking trying to get God, like social justice points. It's like that, that's how I remember this era where it's like this is ridiculous, like this is insane, where it's like you guys don't believe this, like you guys don't believe this, and I think that it's honestly, this might sound, I think it's brave. I think it's actually brave for Ari Aster to make a point in this movie to be like, this was ridiculous, and like so many of this was all like performative, and this is not a truth that people were living. This was like people were losing their minds and had to believe in something. I think that character, that fucking little incel white kid, is such an interesting character because it is so performative for him. And I knew people like that. There were so many people that were like that got into it for like not good reasons, right? That didn't really like care that much, were trying to care for alternative motives. And then even in there, they were bad guys, bro. They were a bad guy in the middle of it. And then they were like kind of losing their minds because their ideology is so inspecific that they don't even know what they believe in. That was real shit going on. And like, I think that capturing that in the movie where this kid was confused as fuck. Yeah, dude, people were fucking confused. It was interesting. That's like, I think that is so crazy. It's like, it's a good movie, dude. I don't know. That's such a crazy part of the movie.
I think the wild thing about that entire monologue rant you just went on. It's like I agree with everything you said. Like I never did I think that we were going to talk about Eddington and like agree about this movie, even though we rate it on just completely opposite ends of the spectrum. But like, yeah, I think like when it comes to the BLM stuff, like that was so fucking performative. And I do, like you said, it's brave. And I think it's absolutely admirable of Ari Aster to like take that approach in this movie and be like, yeah, like this was a ridiculous time in America that we lived through, where it was just such performative politics. It was such performative, social justice warrior nonsense. I think I am like living in New York City is not doing this movie any service for me, because you see that shit still every single day. You'll never not see performative politics. You'll never not see social justice warriors going at it on social media in New York City. It's like such a repetitive and reoccurring thing. And I think it's just bothering me that I like live among this, and seeing it in a film, I'm on the part of like this Eddington viewership experience where I'm like, like that none of this feels like specific to COVID, unfortunately. Like this is still something that like is being experienced today. It's going to be experienced for years to come. And being in New York City, it just feels like it's amplified tenfold. Like anytime something happens, Instagram stories go crazy. Even more recently with the mayoral campaign in New York City, everyone was throwing shit up on their Instagram stories about the Democratic nominees, the Republican nominees. And I'm like, I know you don't know what's happening. I know if I sat you down and had a conversation with you about this, you wouldn't be able to intellectually tell me what you're supporting. And I think that like performative virtue signaling aspect of this film, if anything, it's applaudable because it got a reaction out of me. Like it made me like not upset. It made me like cringe. It made me really cringe. And like, cool. That's what movies are meant to do. Movies are meant to elicit emotion. Unfortunately, the emotion that this film elicited for me was just like annoyance and corniness and cringe and something that like I just did not want to relive. But like you said, Doug, I think it's insanely brave of Aster to, and Tyler, you mentioned it earlier too, where Aster's basically like, yeah, like both sides of this COVID era politics, you're both idiots, you're both smug, you're both performative virtue signaling assholes. One of you is running down a conspiracy theorist, one of you is fear mongering yourself into oblivion. And the BLM stuff of this movie, like I think it's done very well in a way that it's like, okay, this was an important era of politics. Like you said, Doug, systematic racism is an important thing that is still going on in this country today, and it will continue going on in this country for decades, unfortunately. And this movie does display that in a way that's very like probably the most insightful part of this movie. Like I said, like the COVID stuff, I really didn't care for, but the BLM stuff is where I think he's taking like more risks, and it's like slightly more paying off. But yeah, it was just so nauseating to like relive that, like that white fucking incel asshole kid.
Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah.
Dude, I swear to God, I thought he was going to get shot and die at the end. And I was getting ready to applaud. I was getting ready to clap in my theater when he died. I didn't know that they were going down like the Kyle Rittenhouse part, because they didn't really like build his character up to that. Like, I think that part was like a very interesting, like 180. And I was like, oh, that's okay. That's funny. Fuck that kid even more now than before. But yeah, it's a very interesting experience, like the movie as a whole. I don't know. I'm enjoying talking about it more than I expected, especially like listening to you guys and your perspective. I think it's just like, I don't know. It's such a bothersome, touchy subject. Like there's nothing in the world I hate more than like virtue signaling social justice warriors. Like they're so wildly annoying, and living in New York City just doesn't help that.
I mean, that's what you have with the Brian. I believe Brian's the one who, the character who, like the only reason he starts joining the protest and starts believing all this and like being part of it and learning about it is because he wants to get laid. Like that's the only reason he's doing it, is because he wants to get laid by that Sarah girl. And so he's just going to start molding his entire personality and mold all his beliefs just so he can get laid. And that's what drives him this whole time, and what ultimately becomes one of the conflicts. And I think that just speaks about like the perfect example, like performative activism, where you have an ulterior motive, whether it's getting laid, whether it's a financial gain, whether it's getting more followers, whatever it is. Like there's always people that are going to capitalize for whatever ulterior motive to, and I'm not saying everyone's performative activism. There's plenty of incredible people that are true activism, but there's obviously, we all know people in our real lives that are very performative. I even saw like an unironic post like during the mayoral race where like I saw TikTok where it's like, which I'm not commenting on like a candidate or whatever, but it's just someone saying like, what, like it was a question and answer thing for canvassing or when you go out, like, collect signatures or whatever. It's like, what do you do if you like don't know all their policies or don't understand all of them? And like their answer is like, well, that's completely okay. Like you don't have to know all of what they're like campaigning for. Like it's just important to get out there and spread the word. And I'm like, it's just so insane. Like it's like people like that's just what people do. It's like you just spread anything, no matter what your belief is, without like actually knowing like what you're doing, which I think is just like it's such a crazy thing. But yeah, this character of Brian, just a dude who wants to get laid by Sarah. So he just molds his entire personality with that end goal in mind. Just really speaks to what we're talking about with like Logan Paul and all these people that just are going to capitalize and do whatever they need to keep their advertisers or to keep their followers happy. Yeah. And I think in the middle of this, you have the character of Michael. Wait, no, not Michael. Yeah, Michael, who is an ex-boyfriend to Sarah, who is underage. Sarah is. He is not.
Michael's the cop. Michael's the cop.
Yeah. He's this fascinating character who has had an underage relationship. He is a police officer, the only, I want to say the only black person in that town. I don't even remember if we see a single other black person in the town. The only one who is a police officer, whose father was a police officer, who with his job, he really tries to just be like the goody two shoes officer doing what he's told so he can get promoted and be like his father and kind of climb the ranks. And Joaquin Phoenix, hopefully maybe like he can overtake him as his sheriff one day when Joaquin Phoenix goes off and retires. He's trying to do everything by the book in terms of like police stuff so that he can, kind of follow in the footsteps he's supposed to be going down. But in the middle of this, you have the BLM protests going on with the protesters are saying, you should be on our side. He's like the one black person out of town. Why is he breaking up these protests as, his police officer duty and trying to keep them peaceful and keep them from rioting and looting? So I think there's just such a interesting dilemma there of the character of Michael and the fact that he has this relationship with Sarah, who is now with the mayor's son. I think Michael's just such a layered character who you see take everything that's going on with the protests as well as with Sarah, and it starts to really break him down while at the same time he's trying to just be completely falling in line so he can get promoted to sergeant, so he can get promoted to sheriff. And he's just constantly conflicted with where he is mentally, and it starts to really gnaw at him throughout the film, which to the point where we're talking about the ending, like it really felt like that was building up to where that's going to boil over and be like what the end is going to be. Like when the first shot was actually taken at the house of the mayor, I wasn't certain if it was Joaquin Phoenix or if it was Michael that he was going there, because you see him training with the gun. So I think his character is really a layered character in this whole narrative as well. That's really in the middle of everything that's going on in the small town of Eddington. But at this point, so we mentioned briefly like that Ted, who's Pedro Pascal, there's allegations of him sexually assaulting Louise, which is Emma Stone's character, who is now married to Joaquin Phoenix, when she was underage and he was not. And there's this whole murky past about the mom leaving. You don't ever get quite clarity on it, but what you do get is Joe making a public, Joaquin Phoenix making a public video saying, Pedro Pascal sexually assaulted my wife when she was underage, trying to start throwing mud. And then like the next day, basically Emma Stone's character, Louise, makes a video saying like, nope, those allegations are completely false. I was sexually assaulted when I was young, but it was not him. My husband's wrong. And then that's when she leaves with Austin Butler, and she's really out of the narrative pretty much at that point.
Crazy scene, by the way. I'll give props to like Ari Aster's just like the way that entire sequence moves, because it starts in the protest and like everyone's screaming, everyone's shouting, everyone's going crazy, and then the camera just follows him into a restaurant, and he just immediately takes the mic and just immediately starts spitting for like 2.5, 3 minutes. Like unbelievable movement going from like this insane chaos in the streets immediately into a restaurant, just talking about sexual assault for 3 minutes.
I think that captures social media though, and like scrolling on your TikTok feed, and it's like
I'm saying this in a good way, by the way.
No, yeah, I wasn't critiquing you. I'm just kind of just elaborating on your point. Yeah. I think it just captures so well of like when you're scrolling social media, like TikTok is such a cancer of an app where you see a video that makes you cry because it's the most heartbreaking thing you've ever seen for 30 seconds. You swipe and you're laughing your ass off. You swipe and you see a LeBron James dunk edit. And it's like, this is such whiplash tonally for your brain to be able to get all at once where like I'm like, why am I crying? And now I'm scared, and now I'm happy, and now I'm like mad at the world, and now I'm like optimistic for the future. It's like this movie like goes from like your middle
It's
of the
so
riot
bad for
to
you.
this insane, to this insane him speaking where like he goes from like his adrenaline an all-time high trying to keep this town from fully erupting to then just giving a speech to like 6 people eating dinner at this Greek Mexican fusion restaurant, to then going home and seeing his wife leaving him in the middle of the night with this random online guy, to him just trying to go to bed and repeat it tomorrow and start his mayoral campaign again. Like the whiplash of just his everyday life is just what I think is a TikTok feed when you're scrolling through every night. I think he captures the madness really well with that. But really, this kind of ushers us in. So the opening of the movie has a lot of ideas it presents. I mean, the very opening of the movie is presenting this power imbalance between the town of Eddington and the Native American reservation right next door, and how they clearly don't respect each other, especially with the power imbalance of the town of Eddington think they supersede them, and they're almost like suboptimal, subhuman officers that deserve no mind and no respect. Then it leads into the COVID, leads into BLM, leads into the fracturing of his marriage. But then it really ushers into kind of, well, as well as all these mayoral campaigns of back and forth. And then the second half of the film is kind of what this all boils up to, which is, unless I'm missing anything, we kind of get to the point where it is what we mentioned with the firework needle drop, where Pedro Pascal's having a rally at his house with all the rich donors. And Joaquin Phoenix is called there. He doesn't go there on his own accord. He's called there for a noise complaint because, like we all mentioned, our theaters were shaken. So I think there was some validity to that noise complaint that he was pumping that music loud, probably with the intention of drawing Joaquin Phoenix there to cause an altercation to help reclaim the narrative that he's not the crazy one. Joaquin Phoenix is. They go there. Joaquin Phoenix turns down the music. Pedro Pascal turns it right back up and then slaps Joaquin Phoenix in the face. And I fucking love this scene when he slaps him and you see Joaquin Phoenix's the acting ability he's able to do with his eyes, where he immediately goes dead inside. He becomes a robot. He immediately just focuses. He just turns around, slowly walks out, doesn't say a word, walks to his vehicle, and you realize something has snapped inside this man and shit is about to absolutely hit the fan. And I think Joaquin captured that brilliantly in this scene. And that's what leads up to Joaquin Phoenix grabbing his rifle, sniping and killing Pedro Pascal and his son in his house, and starting trying to cover up all the tracks of all the evidence, dumping the bodies, or not dumping the bodies. He kept the bodies there, but getting rid of all the evidence, getting rid of the casings, kind of going and clean up the crime scene and trying to play it off as if he has no clue what happened, because obviously as the sheriff, he knows that once the morning comes and someone contacts the police, he's going to be the one that has to go there and clear it all up. So one interesting bit about this is we mentioned the Native American tribe. So where Joaquin Phoenix was when he took the shot was on tribal land, but obviously the mayor was in Eddington. But because he was in tribal land when he took the shot, that like the jurisdiction becomes a big murky mess where the Native American cops think they should be involved in this because the crime took place on their land where, like, you know, the gun is being shot. But, you know, Joaquin Phoenix, what I believe he was hoping, I don't think he intended this to be an issue. I don't think he was thinking that this was going to cause an issue with the whole jurisdiction. I think he was hoping that everything would just be Eddington jurisdiction. And as the sheriff, he'd be able to cover it up a little easier. And we saw early in the film, Joaquin Phoenix doesn't have any respect for these Native American police. So there's a vendetta there. They want to get back at him. They know something fishy is going on. They notice the tires of the car of the sheriff look similar to the tire tracks they saw. And there's a lot of fishiness going on with what this could be. So they're starting to investigate on their own to try and figure out who carried out the shooting. And Joaquin Phoenix's plan this whole time is to start framing Michael, the character we talked about, the black police officer, as the one who carried out the shootings, trying to get motive with the Instagram messages, knowing that he's that underage girl is now with the mayor's son, who's, you know, they're kissing each other and has those messages as incriminating evidence. He gave Michael the rifle the same rifle that the shooting was taken out of, but we see Michael, you know, using it to train in the desert, which is what Joaquin Phoenix says, here, take this rifle and do some training with it. But, you know, obviously that's a way to give him what the weapon would be for the murders. So at this point, the Native American cops are going and trying to not frame, but figure out who's actually done this, whereas Joaquin Phoenix is trying to fully frame Michael and arrest him for this murder. So that's where we'll start the conversation again, pick it back up. I got to run in the restroom, so you two carried on from there. I feel like I set you up with plenty to talk about, so I'll be back.
Oh, you're going to leave me here with Doug by myself?
OMG.
No way.
Tyler, was wrong. He set that up fucking wrong. It's not what happens in the fucking
Why?
movie.
Which
Joaquin
part?
Phoenix
Wait, which
tries.
part?
Joaquin Phoenix tries to set up Sarah,
Yeah, he tries to set up the girl, the blonde girl,
yeah,
Michael's
yeah,
girl.
yeah, the girl, but then because he writes fucking like Black's Rule or whatever the fuck in the house with spray paint.
Yeah.
I think he
No,
says no justice, no peace.
yeah, something about no peace, no more peace, or something.
Yeah, so he tries to frame her, but it's fucking stupid. And then like the Michael thing just like lands in his lap because of really, I mean, because of racism. But it's this is also where it's like it's interesting because like it is racism, but it's like it's so kind of complicated how like
Yeah.
because it stems from back to like the Kyle Rittenhouse kid just
Yeah.
kind of like being weird.
The pieces fall into place, I think, a little too conveniently, where it's like Michael had this romantic engagement with the blonde girl. Doug, you're cutting in and out.
What does he thinks he
but
is?
You cut out that entire time, and you're still cut out. I'll keep going. Yeah, you're visibly frustrated. I would be too. But yeah, I think the pieces for like Michael fall a little too like conveniently in place. I wish there was like a bolder approach to like accusing him and attributing it towards racism. I think that would have been like a bolder, braver play, especially considering how brave Ari Aster has been throughout the entire runtime leading up to this instance in the movie. But I think you throw on like that like romantic engagement with this blonde girl, the fact that he receives that picture of her kissing the mayor's son, and it's like a very convenient and like, you know, like it feels like Ari Aster's just trying to like dodge a bullet and not fully commit to the racism bit. But like you've already touched on BLM, you've already touched on this very important, you know, era of American politics. Like I think committing to the racism bit would have just been so much better, and leading into like, okay, you've been training with the gun a lot. You know, this is a mayor who isn't standing, you know, up for you as a black police officer. Like I think that motive would have been a little bit more like a little braver and a little more like rewarding had they gone down that route. I don't know if I love the idea that like he's being blamed because of this romantic motive, as opposed to he's being blamed because they're blaming him like for racism. I don't know. That's how I saw it. I think the character of Michael is really interesting. I love that he just almost immediately outs himself. Like when they pull up his Instagram, he just like is immediately like, oh, she's 18. Like I know she's 18 and we didn't do anything. And it's like, that's not what you're being questioned for. Like I thought that was very funny how he's just like immediately sets into panic mode and just outs himself entirely. But there are you go because my next point is a little different.
I was gonna say that I think Michael's motive, I think, is kind of also supporting the thesis of the film with the systemic racism going on in America, with how, yes, they frame him because of the underage messages, and it's just an easy way to frame him. But I think I kind of, what I got from it is you have all this evidence, but people are going to believe that whole cloth because of the fact that he is the one black person in town, and that underlying racism is going to let them, maybe some of this evidence, they would say, oh, let's question that a little bit more. But because he's a black man, they're like, oh man, this guy's terrible. Yeah, lock him up forever. Like, and that's what Joaquin Phoenix thinks, is because he himself has all these underlying racist thoughts as well. He performatively will say stuff like, oh yeah, like I believe the cause, but let's like be civil about this. But you know, like the type of guy he is and the type of circles he's in and what his beliefs are, that he has probably a lot of these underlying biases as well. And I think he thinks that it'll be an easy frame because they see the one black man in town committed a killing, that the town will be like, oh yeah, like let's believe. Yeah, of course we're going to believe that. Like lock him up, throw him away. We don't even need the FBI to come in or any other second truth. Like the sheriff, yeah, if he says that's true, then we believe it whole cloth. I think that helps the narrative a little bit as well. But yeah, I mean, I guess I was next we're gonna jump into the Antifa part. So I'm gonna the end of the movie, the Call of Duty aspect. So is there anything else we want to say before we get into the Antifa ending of the film?
I was gonna tell. I like this is like a complete different branch, something that I kind of want to talk about. Did you guys find this movie funny?
Oh my god, you know I found this movie funny. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I think. Like the reason I'm asking is because the funniest part of the movie for me was when the tribal chief was like basically going back and forth with Joaquin Phoenix about who owns this case, who has jurisdiction where, and Joaquin Phoenix was like, "Why are you still here?" Or the tribal chief like puts up the bullet, and Joaquin Phoenix is like, "Cool, do whatever you want with that." And that was like the only part that really made me like chuckle and laugh. But I feel like my entire theater, like the second like a black square showed up on Instagram, my theater started like hysterically laughing. You know, there were so many like little moments of like political references where like my theater was cackling and I was just sitting there. I was like, is that funny? Or is it just like I don't know. I didn't find this movie as funny as I thought it was, but as everyone else thought it was, but there were a lot of moments where I was like, okay, that's actually funny.
I think a lot of people are going to find it funny for different reasons. So I can't speak to why everyone else is laughing, but I've definitely found this funny in a lot of moments as well. And I think a lot of it is just the absurdity of being reminded of what happened, but also like everything with the Native American Pueblo police and Joaquin Phoenix, I thought was hilarious. It felt very like Wes Anderson to me, of like the game of cat and mouse, where like there's this police officer that's like, oh, I got all this evidence, and he just starts like running to the house, and like, or he's in the police station, he runs to his car and just drives away fast. Joaquin Phoenix is like has to call me, like also run to get in his car and chase him. And I thought the whole cat and mouse of their whole dynamic of them trying to pin him for murder while Joaquin Phoenix trying to stop that. I thought there was a lot of comedic elements in that with their whole chases. But Doug, what did you find funny about the movie? If we have you.
Hello?
We don't have him.
Hello?
Yeah,
Oh my god. No, that movie's fucking funny, bro. Movie's funny. The black square shit was funny. Tyler's saying like the little Wes Anderson cat and mouse with the Native American police. That was so like George, the do whatever you want with it. That's so funny. Like
that part made me laugh.
Yeah. The biggest laugh that for me personally was the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. Because it's like a cold cut to just him being Kyle Rittenhouse. That was so fucking funny to me. Like I almost screamed.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So funny. Because we saw the shot in the trailer of like the phone and the gun. So in my mind, I was like, oh, like this kid's wandering on the streets. Like that's him. Like he's about to get shot down. And then it's just a complete 180. He walks up to I don't even know Joaquin Phoenix's character's name, Joe Cross. Yeah. And he's like, I saved you, Sheriff. And that's when my theater laughed. And then it just cuts to like the compilation videos of like him doing a podcast, him writing a book. And that part was fun.
Michael Obama.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, like congratulating him or whatever. But no, so Antifa is what kind of ends this movie. So we find out in one of the first altercations that we see Joe Cross have as sheriff is a homeless man is trying to break into a bar that Pedro Pascal and the elites are talking at. He gets in there and Joaquin Phoenix has to get him out of there. And he does get violent by definition, but he gets his not ass beat, but he embarrasses himself. He tries to like throw him down like a hip check in like UFC, and he gets alphaed by the man and who runs out and doesn't get caught. But this whole altercation's caught on video, which with the protests starting to circulate around, you see all this violence going down in Seattle and Portland. But that video goes viral of there's a small town sheriff in Eddington, New Mexico that is beating up homeless people and just doing it shamelessly, who are being nonviolent, harming nobody. So that video gets out and Antifa gets a hold of it, and this is where the end of the movie kind of just you see a plane of these guys in military gear coming to Eddington. They have this drone set up, this insane rig of explosives, military gear, military weapons, and the entire final 30 movies is
private jet.
Yeah,
it's
a special operation of trying to kill the sheriff of Eddington for being this fascist sheriff, and an insane ending. I think Beau Was Afraid's ending was a huge swing compared to the rest of the film. And I think this one is like steroid era MLB type of swing where like, I was like, holy shit, they're going there. This is an insane ending.
it's Joaquin Phoenix's Joe Cross's asthmatic ass trying to run away from this full-on special operations military unit who's hunting him down, and he's just trying to survive. Let's talk about this ending, because I think this ending is insane. And I actually think, like, in terms of like the action, I think it's shot really well. Like, this is like for a guy like Ari Aster, you don't expect like a shootout action sequence to be like done this well. And I think he does. I think it's executed really well. It's like 30 minutes long in this cat and mouse chase of these guys hunting him down. You have this massive explosion that kills Guy, severely wounds Michael, who I guess maybe I just didn't see it properly, but I assumed he was dead, but then you kind of realize at the end he's not dead. But they draw all the sheriffs in the town into this fire in the middle of the desert. And when they get there, big bomb explosion, followed by a bunch of gunfire when they realize Joe Cross is still alive, which then leads to the chase and the firing back and forth. So let's talk about this ending.
I like it. I like it. I think that the idea that, so like the whole like politics, like you're both siding it. Like, I think that's like an incorrect critique already, but then it feels like Ari Aster is kind of like pulling his penis out and like rubbing it on the audience's face when we see like Antifa on a private jet flying to Eddington to go take care of it. Because it's like Antifa like exists kind of, but like to make like this kind of like it is a little bit of like a right-wing conspiracy, and like making it as like, okay, yeah, you are scared of Antifa. Well, Antifa is actually a private military that's going to come and kill you personally. It's like, that is a sick ass idea, and it's such a funny idea to do it in this movie. Like, I love that because it's like so unexpected, and I agree with what Tyler is saying, where when he says like the action is super well directed. Somebody on Twitter said this, so I'm not going to claim this as an original idea, but like the action in this movie, like this section is like more well directed than some of the action set pieces in the last Mission Impossible movie. Like, it's like, I'm so impressed with what Aster is doing kind of formally with like this gunfight. It's so impressive. It's so crazy. Like this neo-Western insane machine gun like chase. It's sick and it's funny.
The muzzle flashes across the desert in the dark desert just looked incredible. And again, this still serves as a thesis, this whole film, of these like rabbit holes of what you believe, where like Antifa people, like a private jet, Navy SEALs with C4 explosives that'll go to any small town and blow up everyone in the town and shoot up the entire town. Like, it's just what the rabbit hole start leading you to believe. Like I was saying, like legitimately, like when I would be home, like, and I'm talking like 2-3 years after George Floyd. That's how long I'm talking about removed. People would say, going to downtown Minneapolis, like, nice knowing you. Like, you're not making out there. Like, that's what if it just starts feeding you like into this rabbit hole where you like start to believe all these things. But the end shootout is just insane. You have this professional group come in trying to kill Joe. They successfully kill Guy. You think they kill Michael, but they don't. But then Joe they chase him through the town. Joe finally, again, has asthma, doesn't have his inhaler, so it's very much a struggle for him to get away. But he finally gets to a gun store where he's able to load up with a fucking minigun. It's just so crazy, man. And he gets a minigun, gets a rifle, and they just have the shootout in the streets where it seems like people are really coming on from all sides. Like, there's really no hope until he has a savior come save him. But like, at what point can you consider it saving? He becomes a vegetable after it. So it's like he's alive, yes, but he's no longer Joe Cross. He's a figment, a shell of Joe Cross.
The mayoral campaign.
Yeah, literally something from like Call of Duty where you have the ballistic knives. Like, I remember, I haven't played Call of Duty forever, but you have the ballistic knife, but when you stab someone, you just stabs them both in the head, and just such a batshit ending for this movie, which then leads to the endings after this entire shootout, which again takes a long part of the movie and ultimately ends with Antifa being taken care of, Joe Cross being basically dead. He's basically Joe Cross as we know him is dead.
Puppet mayor.
Breathing and has a pulse. Yes.
Yeah.
Becomes a puppet mayor. You see the stepmom or no mother-in-law who the whole time seemed like she had no IQ, couldn't string a sentence together, was completely paralyzed by fear, couldn't leave the house. She gave the vibe throughout the whole movie that she was like almost the guy from Benchwarmers that eats sunblock, like that level of fear to doing anything in society because she's so paralyzed by what's going on in the world. But then immediately she sees the opportunity, puppet mayor, he wins the race, the competition's dead, he's not gonna be able to do anything. She all of a sudden becomes like this polished politician, giving speeches, pushing her agenda, grabs the power, and like is completely running that town as the
everyone's an opportunist.
Exactly. And like,
yes,
the switch is so drastic, and I think it's such a big flip. And this might be a crazy comparison, but the ending of this movie reminded me a lot of the epilogue of The Brutalist, where everything that happens for the previous 3 hours becomes just co-opted by someone else who just takes everything that happened and uses it for their own narrative to push their own agendas. So when I saw the ending, it reminded me a lot of like the final art presentation of The Brutalist, where everything that happens to Guy Pearce, who is now just in a wheelchair and can't really speak for himself, is now just the whole narrative is being co-opted and used by
Adrian Brody.
But who is it? Is it like his daughter, or like who's the person like speaking at that end?
Yeah, I think it's his niece.
Yeah, his niece. Like is like taking everything that happened to him and like using it to like push her own agenda. And I don't know, I got a lot of that from this as well. And it's just such a wild way to end the movie with the final shot then being of Solid Gold Magic Corp, because that's the thing, like the whole both sidesing thing for this movie. It's like you have these two sides, I guess, of, you know, you have the Joe Cross and Ted who are fighting for trying to be mayor of this town, but really the only person who's actually playing the game. It's like there's two sides of a chessboard. You have the white pieces and the black pieces, but the real winner is Mattel or whatever corporation makes the chessboard and makes the chess pieces and sells them. Because at the end of the day, the people behind it all, the real puppeteers, are always going to be winning no matter what side, quote unquote, side of the game actually wins the fight. So ending it with the Solid Gold Magikarp building their like AI data center in the middle of Eddington, New Mexico, being like the big winner here of this whole thing, that even though all this stuff on the surface, all these protests of social injustice, all this COVID, all this mayor race, all this shooting back and forth, all in the meantime, in the background, this agenda of getting this data center built is still being pushed through. All the wealthy elites at the very beginning of the movie meeting with Ted. Ted died. Yeah, the whole town went to shit, but that whole group with Ted at the beginning got everything they wanted for with getting that data center built, and that was what they were here for this whole time. They don't give a rat's ass about Eddington, the town, or anyone in that town. It's just to get their interests furthered. And I just thought that was really, really cool way to end the movie. And I think, again, I got a lot of Brutalist from it. And it's like he gets stabbed in the head, and then it just goes to this ending epilogue where he's just now literally on. Well, I guess you do get some Joaquin Phoenix dick. So we're 2 for 2 in movies with Joaquin Phoenix and Ari Aster, where, you know, penises play a big role, which I'm not even kidding. I was sitting in the theater thinking like, wow, like Ari Aster is actually like not showing dong in this
showing
movie.
cock.
But you know, with 5 minutes left, he surely does get some Joaquin Phoenix cock in there. But yeah, because he's just a vegetable at this point who needs to be everything. Like he's not like paralyzed. He's literally just like completely mute, immobile, unable to do anything. But he's the mayor of this town, who's really just a puppet for everyone else at this point. I know we lost Doug, but so we're done with Antifa at this point. But the final ending of the movie, I'm guessing obviously didn't work for you since you were lower on the movie, or way lower on the movie. So I want to hear your takeaways.
A big part of my 1 star is certainly that ending. Like you said, I do think it is
it's such a significantly more compelling like act of this film compared to the first 2 acts. Like I've been saying, like I just think it's like very just like show, but don't like tell a lot. It's very like point at the screen and just remind the audience of what they lived through. Whereas like that 3rd act is really like this very like cool, just full blown Call of Duty action set piece. I love like the little like 180 it takes at the end with like the Kyle Rittenhouse jump scare. Like I think that was fucking hilarious. It just made me hate that fucking kid so much more. You know, I think it's a really fun little like take on Antifa and their dedication to whatever their craft is, and just moving from a film whose narrative strength comes in the form of just reminding us what we've lived through, I think that final act is just like this really cool turn of events where it's like, oh, I didn't expect Ari Aster to go full blown, Chad Stahelski action set piece, machine gun in hand of, even though we saw it in the trailer, but like out of context, you don't really know what's going on, but like in context, it's like this really like cool, high octane, very, very tense, very anxious little like chase sequence. That also just leads you into like the final like third act, or the final like portion of the movie with like the mega corporate greed, which is something else I don't think necessarily works too well in this movie. You're like alluded to it like very briefly in the beginning, like the movie opens on like the sign of like Eddington and like the proposed plan for this like mega corporate whatever strip mall or whatever the fuck it is, and then it's kind of like forgotten about until the very end of the movie, with the exception of like a few hints here and there. And then the final like 5 minutes of this movie is just full blown mega corporate greed in your face. I don't think that works too well. I think it was something that was like just relatively forgotten throughout the runtime of this film. And then
I think that's the point, though. Like, I think the whole point is that this is always happening like in the background, that like we're so preoccupied with nonsense going on in front of our face that we don't,
I guess,
you don't pay mind to like what's actually you're so worried about Trump versus Biden that you don't realize BlackRock is the real puppeteer controlling everything, and everything else on the surface is performative for show.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I just think it was like a very just like quick, easy shoe in for Ari Aster to just check another, box on his list of themes he wants to touch in this movie.
Mm-hmm. And that's fair, a fair takeaway. But yeah, I always think that too about like our politicians, like our presidents. I feel like no matter right or left, I feel like campaign, they all have like different takes on like what they want to do with the military or something. And like, maybe people on the left want to cut back military spending, or even people on the right, if they're more fiscally conservative, just want to cut back on military spending. But I feel like no matter how pro or anti-military in the sense of like not wanting to keep expanding spending, I feel like no matter what, every time someone gets elected, military spending keeps going up. It's like once they get elected, I feel like it just, to me, it always seems like a president gets elected and then day one they get brought in a room and like someone sits them down and says like, here's actually what's going on here, and like nothing that we will ever get to know, because so much of their stuff like just doesn't, which sure, I'm sure a lot of the reason they give campaign promises is because they just want to get elected and will say whatever will get them votes, which is absolutely true to the whole performative angle as well. But also at the same time, I truly do think there is just like the way the world works, or the way America works, that like we are not privy to, that like you get taken into the dark room at the bottom of the Pentagon or the White House and they say like, here's actually the shit that's going down. So I know you thought you were going to cut this or change this, but yeah, that's not going to be possible. That's not going to be happening. Just like how it seems like every politician, left, right, center, everywhere, it seems to be just like fully pro-Israel and like unwavering pro-Israel. It's like there's just things that go on and interests that are controlling people that we never get to get full transparency to, because housing is unaffordable in this country and everyone wants to blame politicians and all that, when it's like, dude, like BlackRock and Zillow are owning like 50% of the houses in the world now and just renting them out. And we have these massive corporations that are controlling things. It's like, there's nothing a politician can do because they're too small. Like the president of the United States is like too small at this point to even go up against these massive donors that are just lining their pockets. And politics, not just in America, politics everywhere, is just so overruled by corporate interests and money and appeasing your backers that the voters just are so insignificant. It's just all about who's actually pulling the strings. So I thought it was a well done in this movie, but I know it's not going to work for everyone. No, it didn't work for you. I know it's not going to, you're completely not in the minority. It's again, I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. I think if you're going to make a film to tackle everything that Ari Aster tackled in this film, and everyone ends up saying like that was a good movie, I think that movie would be like real shit. Because I think you would have to, I know you think a lot of stuff in this movie is surface level, but to make a movie about all this that gets everyone in the theater to be like, yeah, that was a good movie, I think it tackled everything well, like I just think it's genuinely an impossible task. So I think it's impossible to tackle a movie about everything Ari Aster tries to do and satisfy everyone. So I think it's, you can't say he didn't swing, at least, and I think everyone will agree with that he took a swing.
I think at the very least there are 1-star movies. There are even 2.5-star movies that I'll quite simply never care to talk about ever again. Mm-hmm. Whereas like Eddington is at least opening interesting conversation, whether you give this movie a 5-star or a 1-star or a half-star, mm-hmm. or if you give it like a 3-star and you're right in the middle. I think there's just, it is like, listen, I'm not going to like downplay, I think, the importance of a movie like this. Like, it is the first of its kind to like really dive into that COVID era America. Obviously, I don't think it's done in like the most engaging or like nuanced or profound way that I think like a lot of people are making it out to be. But it's definitely a film that's like getting reactions out of me. It's films that's like, I came into the Superman review last week and I was like, I don't really like there's a part of me that doesn't even want to talk about this movie. Like, I don't care. But like Eddington, a movie I give 2 stars less than Superman, I was sitting here last night on my couch. I was like, damn, I'm excited to talk to 2 people that love this movie. I'm excited to like understand and like pick their brain and like really know like what did they see that I didn't. So at the very least, Ari Aster is good at like opening conversation and giving you films that are going to challenge you as a viewer. Unfortunately, it didn't work for me. You know, there are challenging movies that work. There are challenging movies that don't work. And Eddington doesn't really fall onto the work side of things. But like I said, I want to revisit it. I do. I really do want to revisit it now that I kind of like understand what sort of approach Ari Aster is taking this, where this truly is a film about COVID era politics, just at face value, like nothing more, nothing less, until you get to like the final like shootout scene. But up until then, it really is just truly COVID era politics.
So remind me, what do you give it? A 2-star, 1.5?
I gave it a 1.
1 star. Okay. 1 star for George, 4.5 for me. So very different ends of the spectrum. It's a movie that's going to generate conversation. And again, like I just, people who kind of say it's 2 sidesing it, like to me, like the analogy I made is just kind of the way I think about it. You have a game of Risk. You have 7 different nations fighting on the board. The red nation wins, but actually the real winner is Hasbro or whoever you bought the board from in the first place. And I think it does that well. And I think, again, you said this, and I think you agree with it as well. What I believe you do, because I think you said it earlier, is that like my least favorite critique of this film is when people say it's like an irresponsible movie to make. And I think people say that irresponsible
that I disagree with. That
should drive off a cliff. Like
there are certainly ways to make a film like this irresponsible, but I actually think Ari Aster approached it in like the most like neutral kind of way, where it's like literally like fuck everyone involved, fuck every sort of personality that, you know, was bred during this COVID era America. There are ways to make a COVID era film irresponsible, but I don't think this is this is that film. And like I said earlier, I really don't like the too soon argument. I know a lot of people on TikTok and Twitter and Letterboxd have been very vocal about like, yo, why are we making this film in the midst of this era of politics? Like, we haven't left this era of politics. And it's like, well, maybe you need to see this movie. Maybe you need to understand just how stupid you look, and maybe this movie is going to give you that clarity. But yeah, I don't like the too soon argument. I don't like the both sidesing it argument. Like there's apolitical, you know, Civil War, and then there's like Eddington, which is like very political in a sense, but it's not just like catering to one particular end of the spectrum.
Yeah, and someone commented this on my review, which sent me down a rabbit hole, so the 1918 was the Spanish flu pandemic, which, you know, was like 100 years before coronavirus. But there's like a severe lack of art around the Spanish flu. And there's a whole bunch of reasons there's World War I going on. During the wartime, like they censored information about the flu because you're so focused on the war that like they didn't want people being scared about a flu when we have to like keep the war machine going. So it's like a thing in history where you can read about that. The 1918 Spanish flu, that was a pandemic, very, very similar in a lot of ways to how COVID went down. And there's like barely any films, barely any books, because everything was censored about it and it was just completely underreported. That it's like kind of interesting that like 100 years later, it's like with the way the lockdown went down, like when you look at pictures back on the Spanish flu, a lot of the way it was rolled out was very similar. And then now when you kind of look at movies, like we're not censoring COVID movies, but like people aren't really making them. And it's like kind of crazy that like 100 years later now, when art is so much easier to spread throughout the society, it's like we're kind of repeating the same thing where like we're just not touching on a major thing that impacts society. And it's like 100 years later after the Spanish flu, it's almost like we didn't really learn our lessons from how that pandemic went down. We kind of just repeated everything from that. And it's like, who knows, in 2021, 20, if we just do the same thing as COVID once again, because a whole generation is going to have much art or much documentation of the impact on society to look back on, which sounds crazy now, but I'm sure people in 1918 thought it was crazy too, to think, oh, there's no way like people would ever, like, this pandemic will ever go down like this again. We'll be so much more prepared the next time. And then, you know, no one in 1918 is around today to see it happen again. You're basically fully relying on people who have heard about it from second sources, trying to go on from it. So I don't know. It's just an interesting nugget about making films about stuff and making art about stuff that is difficult and you don't want to talk about, but it's important to be a time capsule nugget for people to look back on and get a slice of what it was like at this time. Because, you know, so many of our contemporary filmmakers are making movies about past period pieces, and like, yeah, it's interesting, and they do the research and they know what they're talking about when they're making a film today about the 1970s. There's really something to be said about making a film about the present while you're in the present, that I think Eddington captures, whether for positive or for negative. But we'll end our Eddington review on that note, and we'll get into trailers and movie news. And it's just going to be me and George, so I don't think it'll take us too long to go through these. But we got the first trailer for Luca Guadagnino's After the Hunt. Man, we just got done talking about Eddington. Now we're talking about your least favorite filmmaker. But After the Hunt, starring Andrew Garfield, Ayo Debris, Julia Roberts. Film follows a professor who finds herself at a crossroads when a pupil accuses her colleague of assault. In theaters on October 10th. I thought the trailer looks really good. I mean, speaking of Ari Aster, Luca, I think, is kind of in a similar vein of when you talk about like obviously like Call Me by Your Name, Challengers, Queer, even Bones and all. Like, there's themes that carry on just like Ari Aster's as well. But he's, you know, between Challengers, between Queer, between Suspiria remake, and now this After the Hunt, which looks like almost a more straightforward drama compared to what we've really been seeing out of him lately. Like, he's kind of what I know you're not as big a fan of him as me, who I think he might be like my favorite filmmaker working today, but he's everything is bringing, like, every time I see a new trailer for a new film of his, and he's obviously attached to a billion things, but they're kind of new and fresh each time. And even if you don't end up liking them each time, they're different packages. And I appreciate him for that. What do you think of the After the Hunt trailer?
To your surprise, I actually liked it. I saw it for the first time before Eddington, and I turned immediately to Sophie and I said, I actually think that looks good. No surprise, I'm not the biggest Guadagnino fan out there. I don't really love him as a filmmaker. I don't think he's a filmmaker that necessarily like understands the human experience. So I am nervous about him tackling a film that's dealing with assault. You know, I really enjoy Call Me by Your Name, of course. I really enjoy Suspiria. And I think these are very, you know, respectful approaches to what he's trying to say. But then you have films like I Am Love or Melissa P, which I just think approach their subject matter
Melissa
in a very
crazy shout. That's a crazy shout. It makes sense. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I think there are instances where he can be a little disrespectful on what he's trying to talk about, and now he's trying to tackle a film that talks about or that deals with assault. So I'm a little weary, but I can't deny I did enjoy that trailer. I did watch that trailer honestly without even knowing what it was. I didn't even know that trailer dropped whenever it dropped. So I was like, what is this? This looks interesting. And then I see Andrew Garfield, I see Ayo Debris, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the Guadagnino. And I was like, all right. He's got my attention a little bit right now. We could run with this.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it might be the most palatable Luca Guadagnino film in a while, but at the same time, might have, you know, tricks up his sleeve and not be what it seemed on the surface. But speaking of Luca Guadagnino, he's officially out from Sergeant Rock. James Gunn had a long interview where he kind of just talked about a bunch of different updates, talked about Superman and stuff, but he's officially no longer involved in Sergeant Rock, which is disappointing. I was very excited for that, especially when it was back Luca Guadagnino with Daniel Craig working together for Sergeant Rock. That's when I was like, this could be all-timer stuff. James Gunn still seems very committed to, you know, getting some auteurs in the DC Studios universe, but clearly, I mean, we talk about all the time with Luca. He signs on for so many films that I think he has such a finite film schedule that like he loves making movies, which I applaud him for. And he has so many projects in the can that I think it's just like he has such a finicky schedule that's like it has to exactly be these months, because other than that, if not, I have a film wrapping right before that and I have a film starting next after that. He's constantly working 24/7. So it's like, my guess is that Sergeant Rock had to end up getting pushed out a little bit because some of the movies are kind of sliding to the right a little bit with DC Studios. And I think just he doesn't really have the schedule flexibility to be able to move from the dates he was initially planned. So we'll see who takes over for him. But it's definitely a bummer. We got the trailer for Tron Ares, which is also in theaters October 10th. So big time. What did you think of the trailer?
I like the trailer, man. I liked it. I really did. I've been sold on this project for literally ever since that first like promo image of like the dude in the red suit, who I'm assuming is Jared Leto, was standing there like with his back to the camera, holding like the sphere, the circular disc thing. I've been excited, man. I really am. I love the world of Tron. It's been a while since I've watched the original, but I've watched Tron Legacy since. I'm definitely due for a rewatch, and I'll obviously watch the two of them prior to the film. But I don't know. I'm a little nervous because Joaquin Roning, or however you pronounce his last name, he doesn't have like the best track record. Like, he made the Maleficent movie with Angelina Jolie. He made Dead Man Tells No Tale, which is obviously a very bad movie. So I don't know. I'm excited. You know, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are there. They're great. You know, they have their hits, they have their misses, but luckily I think they've hit more than they've missed. Their most recent outings, they have been missing though.
Whatever. We've been over this.
Kidding. Kind of. But yeah, no, I'm excited. And you bring on, you know, Jeff Cronenweth, who's like a freaking collaborator of Fincher, to do all of your shot selections and be your DP, and I think that's sick. Mm-hmm. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything Tron. I haven't seen the original Tron. I haven't seen Tron Legacy. So can't really say I have an excitement level for this. I'm sure I'll watch both of them before this comes out. So we'll get into Tron, but I mean, it looks cool from the trailer. I can't deny that. We also got the trailer for the final season of Stranger Things for Volume 1, which releases November 26th on Netflix. Volume 2, I believe, is Christmas Day, and then Volume 3 is New Year's Eve. The runtimes were leaked, not real runtimes. I mean, no one's came out and denied them. So, I mean,
yeah, they're not fair, real.
They're definitely not real, but I can't 100% say it's confirmed that they're not real. Yeah. But basically, they were saying it was like 2-hour to 3-hour long episodes for every episode. But I don't know, man. It's tough. Like Stranger Things, I still really love that show, but I certainly can't say I'm like excited to watch it. And like I'm excited to see it end, but I can't really say I'm more excited than that. It's similar. Like I've just finished watching Squid Game, and it's like, I love Squid Game season 1, but then there was such a long break that like I just lost all interest in where the story was going. That when it came out, yeah, I watched it like almost immediately because I wanted to see how they were going to tie it up. But same thing here with Stranger Things. I think a lot of my interest in it is kind of gone, but I'm invested. I'm going to watch it, obviously. I just hope they stick the landing somewhat. I mean, at least be better than the Game of Thrones final season. But again, like I'm not as attached to Stranger Things as I was Game of Thrones. Like even if they do flub the landing, like I don't really care. Like I don't know. Stranger Things just fumbled how long it took so badly that I think a lot of people are in the same shoes as me, where it's just like you once loved the show, where now you don't not love the show, but it's like you just don't care anymore. So yeah. I don't know. Where do you land on it?
I mean, yeah, I'm right there with you. Like I'll always tell you, season 1 of Stranger Things is just like really fucking incredible. And I know a lot of people will probably put like 3 and 4 above it, but season 1 will always be my favorite. And I think they just struck gold, Netflix, with like that, you know, 70s, 80s aesthetic. You have these like really like easily lovable characters, you know, playing board games, and they get sucked into this like world of demons and stuff. And I think it's so interesting, and it's such an interesting world they've built. But yeah, I think they've absolutely fumbled it waiting. What has it been, 5 years now since season 4? It's been an insane amount of time. So it's like, I'm excited. I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to sit here and act like I remember a single thing that happened in season 4, because I don't. So I'll probably need to rewatch season 4 prior to season 5 coming out. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I should be way more excited. I really should. But I think the timeline that they've approached is just like, it's really just like hindered my excitement levels right now.
Mm-hmm. Then we have the Avatar Fire and Ash leaks trailer, which I don't know, might come out Monday officially. I know there's some rumors, so I don't know if you're listening to this, it might be officially out, but all I'll say on it is the score is beautiful. It looks incredible. It's everything I really want it to be and more. We got the first trailer for Pixar film, next film Hoppers, follows a girl who transfers her mind into a robotic beaver to help the animals fight the construction plans from the local mayor. In theaters March 6th, 2026. And I love original Pixar stuff. I think this is still going to be like Pixar just rarely misses, and I don't think this will be a miss. But I don't know. It's like Elio's not doing great, obviously. They're very much not interested in original stories. So that paired with this being a trailer coming out when, like, I don't know, does this movie need a trailer coming out 9 months before? It's just like a lot of it just seems like they're prepping for this to already be a flop, and they're just already trying to be like wiping their hands clean of it. It seems like they're already like preparing us for like Hoppers to just be something they dump, maybe even gets pushed to Disney Plus, who knows? But I just think they have no confidence in this film, which is a bummer. I want to see original Pixar stuff. I liked Elio, but this trailer looks fine. We also got the trailer for Mortal Kombat 2. Are you excited for Mortal Kombat? Have you seen the Mortal Kombat 1 movie?
Yeah, like when
it's got riders. Like there's people excited on Twitter. I was like, I didn't realize people cared this much.
I remember watching it in like whenever it came out, 2020, but I'm pretty sure that was like one of my first ever Letterboxd reviews. I don't remember liking the movie, but I'm also going to tell you I don't remember the movie at all. So I'm not even going to like tell you if I'm excited for it. Do I have a review up? No, I haven't. When did I log it? 4 years ago. Yeah, 2021. Yeah, I don't know. I got to revisit it. I don't even know. I'm going to remove my rating right now for Mortal Kombat.
There we go. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not excited for this. I probably won't watch it or the original, but I added it in the rundown because a lot of people online were talking about it. So clearly it's got its fans out there. So if you're a fan, October 24th is coming out. Now we're getting to movie news. We're going to go over Emmy nominations quick because I don't care a whole lot about Emmys, but we'll just talk about high level, like the big awards nominated. So outstanding drama series, you have Andor, The Diplomat, The Last of Us, Paradise, The Pit, Severance, Slow Horses, and The White Lotus. Of that group, I've only seen Severance and The Last of Us, and that's it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wish I could engage in more Emmy conversation, but like this has got to be like the worst year of like my TV watching. Like I haven't even seen the most recent season of Andor, so that should tell you how not committed I am to movies right now. I've seen The Last of Us, Severance, The White Lotus, and The Bear. I watch Abbott Elementary, but I'm like a season behind, and then I watched like the first 2 episodes of The Studio. I want to finish it. I didn't stop watching it because I didn't think it was good. I just haven't even been committed to movies this year. So it's like tough for me to commit myself to TV shows unless you're a TV show about a bunch of idiot people on an island trying to find love. Then I'll be committed to you.
Yeah, we've never claimed to be like a big, well, I mean, I guess we did technically claim to be a film and TV podcast, like for the first like 10 episodes. And we kind of quickly were like, let's scrap that. We're a movie podcast and we'll talk about TV, but we'll just kind of go through nominations. So comedy series, we have Abbott Elementary, The Bear, Hacks, Nobody Wants This, Only Murders in the Building, Shrinking, The Studio, What We Do in the Shadows. Limited series, we have Adolescence, Black Mirror, Dying for Sex, Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez Story, and The Penguin. And then let's go to like the big actor awards. So lead actress in a drama series, you have Kathy Bates for Matlock, Sharon Horgan for Bad Sisters, Britt Lower for Severance, Bella Ramsey for The Last of Us, and Kerry Russell for The Diplomat. For lead actor, Sterling K. Brown in Paradise, Gary Oldman in Slow Horses, Pedro Pascal in The Last of Us, Adam Scott in Severance, and Noah Weil from The Pit. And then for comedy series, Uzo Aduba from The Residents, Kirsten Bell from Nobody Wants This, Quinta Brunson from Abbott Elementary, Ayo Debris from The Bear, and Gene Smart from Hacks. And then for lead actor in a comedy series, Adam Brody, Nobody Wants This, Seth Rogen, The Studio, Jason Segel for Shrinking, Martin Short, Only Murders in the Building, and Jeremy Allen White for The Bear. And then we'll just talk about like at a high level here, the most nominated shows. Severance led the way with 27. And I texted you in the group chat. I was like, I like Severance a lot. We all like Severance a lot.
Bro, I love your takes on award shows.
This isn't a comment on Severance in the slightest. This is a comment on award shows. If it's even possible to get 27 nominations, there's too many categories, too many categories or too oversaturated. We're giving like 3 supporting actors like in that category, all to Severance. It's like, I love Severance. It deserves awards. I'm big on Severance train. No movie should be able to get 27 awards. Yeah. And it's not like this was an anomaly. Severance got 27. The Penguin got 24. The Studio got 23. The White Lotus got 23. And The Last of Us at 16. Andor and a Hacks at 14. Adolescents at 13. The Bear and the Pit also at 13. So like So we have three shows tied for 13 nominations that are like the 10th most nominated show of this year. Whereas if you get 13 nominations for the Oscars, I think you break the record. I think 12 is the most. So it's like, let's narrow some of these down a bit. Let's bring prestige back. Everyone wants to talk about prestige TV. If you want prestige TV to make a comeback, we need prestige award shows to make a comeback. But yeah, we don't care about the Emmys. Golden Globes are more interesting because they package movies in with it. So I'll pay a little more attention. But the Emmys can care less about. Tickets for the IMAX 70mm screens of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey sold out immediately, an hour before it came out. Absolutely insane. People are already trying to resell their tickets for high prices, which I don't even know how that'll work because I don't even think you can like transfer tickets like in the. I don't know. I think I have a feeling a lot of people are going to buy a secondhand ticket for the Odyssey and then realize that their ticket's not even going to be functional when they get to the theater. So,
well, you don't have to so like for me, like AMC Stubs, if I buy a ticket through AMC Stubs, which I'll always do, you have to show ID sometimes.
Right,
sometimes the person doesn't care.
Mhm.
But like if you just buy a ticket on Fandango, you don't like there's no need. They're not going to make you show an ID. Like you get your ticket on like if I buy a ticket on Fandango, I could literally screenshot that ticket and just send it to you and be like, you go. I don't care.
True.
Like that's it.
Yeah. But yeah, there's now a secondhand market for movie theater tickets, which with the talk of the death of cinema, we never really thought we would be here, but here we are. And then let's see what else we had. Beyond the Spider-Verse was delayed a few weeks to June 25th. Glass half full, as Chris Miller said, it was because they are just trying to find a better IMAX window. So, glass half full, let's say, okay, that's the reason they pushed it back a couple weeks. Glass half empty, another delay. This is probably the start of
another
more.
month.
It's take the red pill or blue pill, what you want to believe on the delay for that. Then Aaron Taylor Johnson and Lily Rose Depp are going to star in the next Robert Eggers film Werewolf, which is described as a 13th century. We already talked about it. Werewolf movie. Aaron Taylor Johnson is playing the werewolf. Willem Dafoe is also cast. Likely spot for him to be in a Robert Eggers film. Cool. A lot of people kind of call this boring for Eggers, which I like when filmmakers take risks and kind of go outside their comfort zone. Eggers certainly isn't doing that, but even though I like when filmmakers do it, I don't think it's a requirement. I think he has his bread and butter and he's good at it. So I'm excited to see another one. And I'm big on the Aaron Taylor Johnson train. I think he's fantastic. Lily Rose Depp, did she win the ReelTok Award?
She did.
The ReelTok Award winner. So we're excited to see her, back in her first film after the monumental award she won. The next Eggers coming soon. Tom Holland says Spider-Man Brand New Day will focus on shooting in real locations and using old school filmmaking. I get what he was trying to say, just an all-time funny quote for him to put out there of like, obviously we know what he's trying to say with that, but it's just like really funny to be like, we're going to use old school film techniques, like actually being on a street when we're filming on a street. it's just like not helping the MCU cause.
So funny. He saw all the criticism of Flash standing in the middle of a subway in No Way Home, and he's like, "Oh shit, maybe I should tweet about it."
Yeah. Ryan Gosling and Will Ferrell are going to star in a new comedy titled Tough Guys. The film follows two goons who are tired of being disposable and break free from the criminal underworld. It's a Prime Video original. I think we lost Ryan Gosling. I think we were losing him, but I think he's lost. Project Hail Mary, I think he's going to be great in it. That's like a real movie, but I think he's gone at this point. I think we've lost him. I think he's fully dedicated to family-friendly filmmaking, I think, for the rest of his life, or until his kids are like teenagers minimum, and they're all pretty young right now. I
think he's fallen into like the Jake Gyllenhaal like brand, where it's like, okay, I was snubbed for so many Oscar nominations, and I probably should be an Oscar winner now. So if they're not going to give me the respect I deserve, I'm just going to go chase a bag for the rest of my career. Because obviously doing these incredible nuanced performances aren't getting me anywhere. So might as well do the Fall Guy and just make mad bread.
Mm-hmm. And we got casting news for the Legend of Zelda movie. Beau Bragison has been cast as Zelda. Benjamin Evan Ainsworth cast as Link. Don't know who either of them are. Maybe that'll be a good thing. I can't say I'm super excited for a Zelda movie in general, but we have our cast. So I don't, they might be kind of like brand new actors. I don't really know. I don't know the filmographies, but certainly not name brand actors whatsoever. And a lot of people are, kind of fan casting Hunter Schafer. But they decided to go with the more unknown route with the two actors, as well as just being younger actors as well. Millie Bobby Brown and Gabriel LaBelle are going to star in Netflix rom-com Just Picture It. Film follows two college students who are shocked when their phones glitch, showing them pictures from 10 years in the future as a happily married couple with kids. I mean, we both love we both love Gabriel LaBelle, man.
Yeah,
but Netflix original with Millie Bobby Brown, that's just
horrifying.
I can't wait to drop the 1 star on this one. Like it's just tough, man. Like
that sucks because I do love Gabriel LaBelle, man.
I love him, dude. I think he could be one of the greats of his generation.
I really genuinely, especially after Snack Shack, even after Saturday Night, I think that movie's good, but he is so fucking good at that movie. This is Millie Bobby Brown and Netflix in the same sentence as Gabriel LaBelle.
It's sad. It's
just put the 1 star in the bag, bro. Just oh my god.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. And the final bit of news, which is kind of big news. So the late show with Stephen Colbert is going to end in 2026 due to financial decisions. These late night hosts like, Fallon before him, Leno, but like Fallon, Colbert, like these are people that just like in our age group, it's just like, they're just kind of always there. They've just always been doing their thing.
Yeah.
This is going to be canceled. And obviously it's a huge narratives on both sides. We have one side saying that, Paramount is trying to merge with Skydance right now, a huge merger, and they're trying to sweeten up with Trump to approve the merger. It's going to be a massive media merger. And to do that, they're going to cancel the late night show with Stephen Colbert, kick him to the side and appease Trump to approve the merger. So that's what one side of the aisle is saying. And their kind of evidence is that, which is true evidence, the late show with Stephen Colbert is the only late show this year to show increased ratings and increased viewership month over month, where every single other one, it's minimal. Don't get me wrong. It's like he's growing at 1% while the other guys are all declining at like 0.5%. But still, it is true that he's the only one growing where they're all declining. And then the other side of the argument is the show per season costs about $140 million and they make about $100 million. So they're losing about $40 million. So it is a financial loser. But then the argument there could be it's been financially losing for a while now. So the timing is a little suspect that you have this merger trying to go through. So you're going to do it now when if it was really a financial decision, maybe like years ago, just because cable TV in general is just dead. Like no one watches it anymore if you're under the age of like 50. So that's really the only viewership left. So definitely like a big thing to monitor in the landscape of media. Because obviously you don't want, them to be doing just to appease Trump. But at the same time, could just be because it actually is losing money. So there's like everything, there's truth on like both sides of truth of the argument, both sides of concerns. And it's like, where does the actual truth lie? We'll never know. So that'll do it for today's episode. Longer episode than I thought. Like even though with Doug and like with his audio issues, like I still didn't think we were going to be taking this long, but we did.
Talked for a long time.
Executive producers, shout out to y'all, Stefan Nieberg, Stefan Johnson, Cody Whitney, and Cole Beaver. And the next time you see us, we will be in person together for the next episode of ReelTok. So that's going to be really exciting. But this week before then, on Thursday, the Real Quick is going to be a Christopher Nolan collaborative ranking between me and George. And then hopefully we can expand it to all 4 of us and do a lot of patrons have been wanting to see us do a Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve combined collaborative ranking. So I think with all 4 of us, that'd be a really fun conversation. But George and I will just do Christopher Nolan for now. And then Friday on Patreon, I know we have a lot of new patrons. We have a lot of new subscribers after last week. So make sure you tune in for a Patreon review of Jurassic Shark. Yes, I said that correctly. Next week, ReelTok in person, Fantastic Four. Going to be a major mega week. But that was episode 150, big milestone episode. We got over 3 hours once again, so we hope you enjoyed this one. Let us know your thoughts on Eddington down below, and let us know what you're most excited to see for us to be in person, because as this episode goes up on Monday, we will be, in person together. So very exciting stuff. Hope you have a great rest of your Monday. Peace out.